Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming at you from SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode ? I'm your host, Elliot J. O'Neill, and joining me tonight is BT Calloway.
Actually, question mark, because it's the second.
Ah, yes, part 2, the questioning.
I'm for it.
So this is our second no review special, something that we're just sort of doing while we're taking a break over the holiday. Thought we'd put together an easy to put together podcast for you all.
Yeah, if your habit is to kick back with a bowl of butter popcorn and listen to Simpsons Index and laugh yourself silly, then we're keeping your habits alive.
Yeah, and so today we're sort of going to talk about what's happened in the podcast in the last year since our last no review special, maybe some plans for the future, and also mostly this is going to be like a 2017 recap, you know, because we do watch other things other than The Simpsons.
I mean, maybe you do.
We have a life outside this home, you know.
I mean, maybe you do.
But starting out tonight, I thought I'd do a little fun thing of like discuss our best and worst episodes since the last no review special. So do you have like a top 5 or just a handful?
It's just a handful. Ones that I scrolled through the index, available at thesimpsonsindex.com.
Yep.
And just kind of ones that stood out for one reason or another. Some of them have a little sad face next to them because I was unable to review them, or I wasn't there for that review.
Oh.
And then,
and you're not allowed to watch them now.
No, of course not. Not in a review capacity. So.
No. Well, I don't know. We might do like a throwback episode sometime. That'd be fun. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, some of my top episodes are But After Dark, I wanted to give a throw to.
Absolutely, yeah. See My Vest.
No, the Burlesque House.
Sorry, I got my songs backwards. That's Springfield. God me, what's my major malfunction?
Mouth made of marbles and brain made of mush.
Yeah, I don't know why I chose those. Terrible ideas.
So yeah, But After Dark, the Spring in Springfield episode. I almost didn't give it a cubic zirconia, this one, but it is just too damn lovable.
It really is, yeah. There was a lot of discussion around that one of whether it belonged in the pantheon of greatest episodes ever. I would agree with someone if they said it deserved a gold instead of the cubic, but I think it's too lovable. It's too much fun.
Yeah, definitely. And how about you?
We mined so many memes from it as well.
Oh, definitely. Just if we were to judge Simpsons episodes by how memeable they were.
Just that one of Grandpa walking in, seeing Bart, picking up his hat and walking back out.
Yep.
Come on.
I wonder if you could calculate how many times a GIF has spun Grandpa around.
Too many. There aren't that many numbers.
All right, what's some of your top episodes?
Treehouse of Horror 1.
Yeah.
The OG.
Man, that was special.
It was good. And we've actually had 2 horror-thons since the last no review special.
Yeah, that's right. We had the Teens in HD one in, I don't know, with Sheridan.
Around May or something we did that.
Oh, yeah, Halloween, of course.
Halloween, yeah. Yeah, so that was obviously the big standout for me for that one was the original. And maybe not the best, but certainly damn good.
Yeah, not the best Treehouse of Horror, but I got to say, I was surprised how much fun I had watching it. There's a lot of those old episodes, like we reviewed Life in the Fast Lane last night, and it was a good episode, but ultimately I gave it a silver because it wasn't that fun. Where's the fun?
Show me the fun.
Yeah, Treehouse of Horror for an early episode as well. It was so damn fun, so damn witty, and lovingly created and homaged.
Go on, James L. Jones reading The Raven is just... It's seal that in a vault, and so when aliens destroy the planet, they'll know what our culture was like.
Yep. The guy from Star Wars reading a Poe poem in an episode of The Simpsons. Culture.
And a tear will appear in one of their 7 eyes, and they'll say, why did we destroy humanity when they made such beautiful things?
My next episode that I'm going to pick as my top, Lisa's Pony. This was very, very special.
This one, when I was scrolling through, this is the one that made me start going, aww. I always knew it was good, but I think only when rewatching it with that critical eye did I really appreciate it. I can't specifically remember why I liked it so much, but I remember it really surprising me as being very, 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 very good.
Yeah. Well, I think it was surprisingly funny for such an emotional episode.
And then it gets you in the heart guts.
Absolutely. And we always commend them on, sort of having quick pacing that doesn't feel like a scattershot episode, and that was totally one of them. It moved quickly, and it was grounded the whole time in one thing.
Yep, tight, witty, and character-driven. It's everything you want.
Yep, beautiful. Your turn?
Come on, Barbershop Quartet.
Yeah. In my sort of loose top 5, it didn't actually make the top 5,
really?
But an incredible episode nonetheless.
In my loose top 5, it did. It's and just so powerfully iconic.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones that grows as you grow up a little bit. You understand the story of the Beatles and the references they're making.
Yeah.
And some of the visual gags as well in that respect. Absolutely.
And also another thing we commend them on for like heavily referencing something, but not making it required viewing before watching the episode.
You get it just fine without knowing what they're talking about. When you do, you get more, and that's perfect.
Yeah, and as lifelong Beatles fans, all the little Easter eggs and golden nuggets, which is my other word for Easter eggs.
Okay, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm going to tell you right now.
But in my head, I wasn't even thinking of like gold nuggets, like, you know, the mineral. I was thinking like chicken nuggets that have been deep fried perfectly.
Sure, why not?
That is a measure of greatness. So next, I'm going to throw out Boy Scouts in the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember how funny that was. Like, it is a bit of a scattershot episode where it's about a bunch of different things, but my God, it's so good the whole way through.
Yeah, just a riot, which is great.
Yeah. And yeah, one of our best performed, best downloaded episodes.
Oh.
Next.
2001 Greyhounds.
Oh, yeah, of course. The See My Vest.
Mm-hmm. And we did indeed. And what a vest.
It was like we melted Phil's icy heart that night. It's like, I hate Simpsons music episodes.
But I love this.
Yeah.
He's not just a tough guy once you get to know him.
Yeah. And yeah, so many iconic moments from that as well, like Santa's little helper escaping the car. And yeah, I've seen that gift.
Oh, yeah.
On
absolutely.
our Facebook page.
Liquid Metal Terminator bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's referencing. Got to mention 22 short films.
Oh, indeed we do.
Yeah.
Again, a very scattershot episode, but one that there's something you'll love in there, no matter what, I think.
Yeah. I think what impressed me about it in the critical eye watch was how it didn't really feel like a sketch show, even though most of the stories were completely separate. They did the important thing, I think, of having a couple that were spread throughout the show.
Yeah,
so
it tied it together a little bit more.
Yeah, so it still felt like a Simpsons episode, even though it was clearly trying to be a sketch show.
Just full of iconic, hilarious moments.
Oh, yeah, like, I went down another rabbit hole the other day of the superintendent and the principal memes. And
That's a deep well. That's a deep well.
Yeah, it started, someone posted up one where this guy was like doing a drum solo along with it, and then I saw someone programmed the rhythms of it into Guitar Hero, so I had to watch that.
Yeah, there's a great one where Homer walks in, a gime? What's a gime? Walks in, it's all Skinner stretching on windowsills in various poses. Oh,
Nice.
a gime.
Yeah, the shit posting you get from that one alone.
Oh, yeah. Rich sauce.
Yeah, and what was the one that Shag sent us the other day where it was playing the Aurora Borealis bit at different speeds,
Yeah.
but they all meet up at the word Aurora Borealis. So it's
That's
just
right.
fucking white noise, Skinner,
Then-
white noise,
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. Fucking amazing. Next.
Next, we have Flaming Moe's.
Oh, yeah. That was in between that time. Another classic.
I don't know what else to say about it. Everyone's seen it. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Everyone's wanted to drink it.
Yeah, I gotta say, on that review, I wasn't sure if that I was theoretically giving it a cubic zirconia, because it is an episode that I have overseen. Like,
Yeah, and it's always hard to really critically view something that you've definitely seen so much. You're either bored of the good bits, or you love even the lulls, because it's everything. You know it. It's like a tattoo on your body now.
absolutely. And I won't lie, that happens with some of the teens episodes, especially, that I've seen a bunch. And because they were such a part of me, you know, they were a part of me. Oh, that's not how the quote goes.
No, it's not.
All right. And I'm going to say for my loose top 5, my loose number 1 is Homer the Great.
Homer the Great. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's one where it was just clearly a cubic zirconia.
And just, quick, snappy writing, good storyline throughout. Has some of my favorite lines.
Yep.
That part will take 2 weeks to come in. That's our file today, which I won't.
No, and it's amazing. And like at the point where he does get into the stonecutters, like one of my favorite bits from watching it with you guys was going, oh my God, that was Act 1.
Yeah. I think we did that a few times on the cubic ranked episodes of this. It's like, you just pack so much into the first ad break.
Yeah. And yeah, just masterful storytelling. Another Swartzy as well. And all right. And you?
Homer the Heretic.
Oh, of course. Wow. I can't believe that didn't make my loose top 5. Yeah, that was an incredible commentary episode I found.
Yeah, and fairly early. I forget what season that is, but it's
4.
4, yeah, I thought it was 4. Such an early show and such an early episode, and just so iconic again. And yeah, a lot of commentary, but very even-handed commentary.
Definitely.
So yeah, a first appearance of God.
Yeah. And its only fault being that why is Flanders not at church? It's the
we came up with reasons.
Yeah. Check those reasons out on another podcast.
No, this podcast, another episode of this podcast.
Oh yeah, good point.
Do not change to another podcast.
All right, and now for my bottom 5, the ones that stick out to me the most as being awful. Blunder Years at number 5. Now this is one that I wish I failed it. It is so fucking annoyingly terrible.
Remind me which one this is.
Oh, sorry, this is the Waylon Smithers. We get to
Yes,
meet.
I hate that one.
Yeah. You were right to fail it.
Damn right I was.
Because it's one that a few days removed from the episode, I kept thinking about it and how much it pissed me off. And
It's just a really ugly retcon. Well, it's not a retcon because I hadn't confirmed where Waylon had come from before.
but it raises a lot of questions.
It really does. And a lot of really uncomfortable ones. Like he was raised by Mr. Burns and now he's got like effectively an Oedipus complex.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, sorry. This would be Electra complex. Does it apply if you... Does the gender of the parent the one that ranks it, or is the gender of you the one that... I don't know.
It's creepy.
It's creepy. Whichever way you go, whichever way you dice it, whatever you want to call it, it's still creepy.
All right, and your turn.
I only actually had 4 in the that I really wanted to talk about being terrible.
Fair enough.
So I'm not going to talk about one that I thought was terrible. I'm going to talk about one that we had a bit of... I'm not going to call it controversy. We couldn't quite agree if it was deserving as the lower rank we gave, which is the President Wore Pearls in the Wasteland.
Yeah.
The Evita parody, which none of us were really familiar enough with Evita to comment on the parody aspect of it, and I feel like we maybe missed out. I know we had a bit of a fan response saying, no, this was better than you guys thought it was.
Yep.
And like I said, that might be our own ignorance, but it still did not come across terribly well. I retract nothing, obviously.
Yeah. I have some ranking regrets, but I'm not going to go rewriting history now.
No, but I think it's one that make up your own minds, listeners.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough, but I just personally I couldn't give it any more than a participant. And
No,
you might be right. It might just be because we're not that familiar with Evita.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same point, to parody something that people aren't terribly familiar with, and we're highly well-cultured people. We watch a lot of crap. And if we don't watch it, we know a lot of references from it, enough about it to be able to comment on it.
Exactly. Like I didn't grow up listening to the Beatles at all. Like Homer's Barbershop Quartet became a different episode when I watched it again at 14 after I got into the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, even from last night where we talked about how Lisa made a macaroni image of Whistler's mother.
Yeah.
We both only knew that because of the Bean movie. But it's enough of a, I suppose, a cultural, unconscious, collective thought that we still got it without necessarily having ever seen the painting itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where that episode fails, is that it doesn't work regardless of the source material. And that's the only sort of defense I could really understand with that episode, is that if Evita meant that much to you, this would have been fun.
Yeah, maybe it would have. Who knows? But
yeah, because it wasn't either it wasn't a failure.
No, we didn't fail it. It just wasn't particularly great for us.
Yeah.
But if you disagree, well, that's fine, I guess.
Yep. All right, I've written for my number 4, the old blue mare, she ain't what she used to be. And yeah, reviewed that with the Pods in the Kia Springfield guys. And so yeah, unfortunately you weren't there for that one.
I was not.
Well, I'd say fortunately for you, because this was a fucking scattershot, man.
You know I want to see the bad episodes.
We got to make a drunken hate watch list.
Like, somewhere towards the end of all this, when we get to maybe 300 or something, we got to have like a battle royale of bad episodes.
Yeah.
So we know which is the worst episode ever. And then we'll talk to worst episode ever and see what they think.
And we'll compare notes.
And then we'll talk to Pods in the Kia Springfield and see what they think.
Yep.
And so on and so forth. Until we can get one unanimous decision.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if Old Blue Mare is a contender for worst episode ever, but it is aggressively bad. It's uselessly referencing the monorail for no good reason.
Dredging up the past to its detriment.
Yeah.
That's,
And
we've seen that a few times, and it's awful.
And yeah, a potentially great Marge story, which becomes the Homer show. And
yeah, I'm really listening back to the episode. I was very like, oh, really? They just go into a Homer thing.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, there aren't terribly many Marge episodes, and I would have really liked to have seen one.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it reminds me there was a Family Guy joke where Peter Griffin sort of laughs off a joke and goes, all right, tune in next week when I become mayor. Do I have what it takes? Who knows? Let's see next week. And that was sort of a funny joke, sort of poking fun at, I don't know, the ridiculous silliness of some of the Family Guy storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's Simpsons doing that. And then...
Yeah, but I don't think it's that absurd of a premise. I mean, I don't know how they get rid of Quimby in the episode because I haven't seen it. But Marge becoming mayor it seems like something she would care enough to try, I think, is what would work with it.
Yeah, well, she makes a campaign promising to get rid of the tire fire, and the people sort of back that and get rid of, Quimby on the back of that promise. And then he sort of goes away on holiday and starts to really enjoy life, and he's looking thinner and stuff and spending time with his family, knowing his wife. So there are elements there, but...
I think you mean with his wife.
Yeah. All right, what have you got next for your...
Oh, man, where to pick? Okay, in terms of dredging up the past to its own detriment, Funeral for a Fiend.
Yeah, I've listed this as my number 3, actually, coincidentally enough.
Yeah, I think I had this as number 2. It's just awful, just an absolute mess of a plot.
Yeah, what were we saying about dredging up the past?
Yeah, and it brings back Sideshow Bob, who can make... Sideshow Bob. It brings back Sideshow Bob, who has some of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Cape Fear is one that springs immediately in mind and is fantastic. And this one is just...
Yeah, and that's the episode where you see his rockin' Sideshow Bod when he's doing all that workout.
And the love hat.
Yeah.
With the little accent, so it's hate.
Absolutely. And I feel that was important to have you and Danny there because we watched the Cecil episode for our Sideshow Bobathon, and... Yeah, what a way to just shit on the history.
Another fantastic episode. And yeah, complete waste of Kelsey Grammer, complete waste of David Hyde Pierce, complete waste of, who's the father from Frasier?
John Mahoney.
John Mahoney, yeah, complete waste of him.
No Daphne.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see Nat Daphne in there in some capacity, but again, it would have been a total waste of her.
Yeah, and because it's just about so many different things, and it didn't feel very schemy either.
No, it was full of, his whole scheme relies on misquoting Shakespeare, so Lisa corrects him, so he has to run back into the building when the bomb goes off. And it's like, that's just the densest fucking plan, even for a cartoon.
Yeah.
You know what? Elmer Fudd wouldn't have a plan that dumb. Wile E. Coyote would think of better shit.
Yeah. But...
To be fair to Wile E. Coyote and Sideshow Bob, Coyote's plans were usually good. They're just physics fucked him.
Yeah. He actually clearly has studied physics, but he just lives in a part of Texas that
just doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Or is it Arizona? I don't know. Right in, listeners.
Yeah, if you're from Wile E. Coyote land, let us know what landscape that was. And even before the Shakespeare misquote thing, to get them to the restaurant relied on them watching commercials, which Marge was already avoiding by buying a TiVo.
Yeah, the more I remember out this episode, just the worse it gets. That's why we threw it into the pit of failure, and it belongs there.
It really does, man. Yeah. All right. And my number 2 is Papa Don't Leech.
Yeah, that's on here too, from the Wasteland, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We ended it with such an... Okay, to be entirely fair to the rest of the episode, the main reason this got thrown into hell was that fucking terrible opening of Homer's dream sequence of murdering Grandpa in cold blood.
Man, I forgot about that before I was making my top list. Like, that might push it up to 1.
Like, the rest of the episode,
terrible.
The rest of the episode is bad, but it's not terrible. It just, that is the opening to this episode, and that's just an anchor that drags it to hell.
Yeah. And comparing to the one we watched last night, where it had the pointless digging the hole opening, but
which was dumb, but it worked.
But they shone a light on it and explained that it's absurd and stupid. Whereas this one, like,
it seemed like we were supposed to think it was funny.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, we do not.
No step of the way. Even during their banter, they were being fucking horrible. Yeah, and Lurlene's dad and the fucking ham boning during the song.
Out of time ham boning.
Yeah. And back in Springfield, and I feel like I oughta.
Because to be fair to the Simpsons portrayal of ham boning, we looked up, great ham boning performances. We did see like a beardy guy who was really good. It did beg the question, why are you ham boning when you could learn drums just as easily?
Yeah.
The amount of coordination required to do it. But hey, I guess you carry your instrument with you if that's what you want to do with yourself.
That's right.
So it is possible to be good. It still carries the question of why, but it's still possible to be good at it. And they also just didn't.
Yeah.
And just in time. So you don't give an embolism to the musicians in the audience.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. It felt so out of place. I mean, fucking even yodeling would have felt more natural in that scene.
Yep.
All right. So what next?
I have the Cat in the Hat, which took me a while to remember which one that was. I actually listened to a bit of the episode.
Yeah.
And okay, starts with a terrible couch gag, which is that one where Homer trips through various TV shows and it makes no sense. And I think he kills the California raisins for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's dumb.
That's right.
And then the rest of the episode is not... it won't keep you up at night how angry you'll be about it, but just everything is mishandled.
Yeah, and it kind of has a good premise there with Bart's manifestation of guilt.
Yeah, and it had potential, and I think that's always the hardest thing for me to swallow. The greatest shame is a wasted potential.
Yeah.
But so many things didn't make sense. And so many things that just got thrown in. Is like Rod and Todd can now pray to God to levitate heavy machinery.
Oh man.
And it's just why is that a thing? And then
yeah, and that sucks because we do criticize the new episodes for not having enough of an emotional core, and I feel like this one was hitting it, but it was not really satisfying.
No, it missed everything. It had a good idea and then just botched it entirely. I'm trying to avoid too many F-bombs.
Oh no, we don't mind a bit of fucking swearing.
No, I know I don't mind. I want to reserve them when I'm angry.
And so the number one of my bottom, so the bottom of the bottom, is actually White Christmas Blues.
Mm-hmm.
This was bad for a Christmas episode, even.
This was just bad for everything.
Yeah, and what we're talking about with no focus, no emotional anchoring, this one was 4 different stories that were not resolved.
And again, much like when I read Lisa's Pony and I went, "Ah," even without fully remembering why I liked it so much. This one I looked at and immediately just wrote it down and was like, no, we have to talk about this. Specifics, I don't ever remember other than that just painfully drawn out bit where Bart's playing a video game and Frosty the Snowman is attacking a DVD cabinet with its claws, and it just goes on and on. And I remember even saying during the episode and then mentioning in the discussion, I watched it, I thought, okay, this has gone on long enough. I said out loud, I think this has gone on long enough, guys. And then it still went for about another 10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
It was just so stupid. And it's just, first of all, it wasn't funny. And then it didn't even keep the titles of the DVDs up long enough for you to read them. So even if there was anything good there, you didn't even have the chance to do it. And just, everything about it was misguided.
And usually I try to make an effort to write down what the sign writers have put up
because they're usually the best part.
Yeah, and it's usually stuff that people generally miss over the years, so I like to sort of point it out for the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it fun in your rewatches. But this one, I intentionally didn't write down any of them. One, because I couldn't; they went too fast. But then I don't feel like they deserve the dignity of being remembered if that's how they delivered it to us.
Yeah, that's how they present it in just the least funny way humanly possible.
Yeah. No, definitely. And
they could have tattooed a corpse and thrown it at us, and that would have been funnier. See, you're laughing.
Yeah,
if they had written the quote on a body and launched it at us, that would have been funnier than this.
Yeah, and so that for all that reasons, and that it was so damn unmemorable. And they had the whole people staying with the Simpsons.
Yeah, motivations swing everywhere, and Marge is all over the place, and it's just
and she was a bit of a bitch in that episode too.
It's a terrible episode.
Yeah, and. All right, so that's all the awful episodes I want to talk about.
Yeah, well, we lined up on Papa Don't Leech, so I am out of recommendations.
Okay, so now, so far in the Simpsons Index, we've given out 651 individual rankings.
Holy crap.
651 medals. Cubic Zirconia, there's been 120 of those.
Nice.
Gold 100, silver 91, bronze 114, and the most with participant at 135.
Yeah, not surprised, actually.
I think it's because we only have 2 bad rankings that if it's not awful, it goes into participant.
Yeah, and also the reason we did a Wasteland episode is there's just a long stretch of mediocrity.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The Wasteland would have contributed to a lot of those participants.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's been 91 individual failures given out.
Go to hell.
All you bastards. So yeah, we've in the last year with the Index, we've moved studios and started branching out, and had the Pods in the Key of Springfield guys on the other week. That was fun. How'd that episode sound to you for an outsider?
I was very jealous. Like, these sound like interesting people. I'm sad I'm not that good.
If you get a chance at home, check out their podcast, Pods in the Key of Springfield. They're really funny dudes. They don't often stay on topic of The Simpsons.
Yeah, you were saying they had to move on. A lot of Dr. Colossus.
Yep.
Which is fair. He's great.
So yeah, they might mention 3-4 scenes from the episode, but that's their bag, and there's plenty of room in the world for lots of Simpsons podcasts, and it was great to hang out with them. I really hope that they're in Sydney sometime and we can hang out with them.
Absolutely. That sounds cool.
Outside of a podcasting.
Have a delicious Reuben.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Have an afternoon and make every sandwich in the Sandwich Index. It'll be a good time. Yeah, so is there anything else you want to mention about the podcast before we move on to our 2017 recap?
The Good, the Sad, and the Drugly. Is that now our highest ranked HD episode?
Oh, it is too, yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious about that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Like, honestly, theoretically, I think it should be silver, but I really had a fun time watching it.
No, I think I'm just kind of curious what's going to be the latest dated highest ranked episode.
The latest greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so far that's it. And I'm actually afraid that it might be as good as it gets, because the only other one that I thought might topple it was To Surveil with Love, but in the rewatch, I did not enjoy
Which
that.
one's that one?
That's
Ned surveilling the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, got some good moments. But,
got some good moments, but unfortunately that routine with Lisa and the blonde, like, really...
Yeah, I completely forgot that was even in the same episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really killed it, which is a shame, because, the A story had a lot of good points. I still remember... I don't remember the exact lines. I kind of want to learn it. Remember, you got an ABC. You remember ABC by CBBA, and CBBA by ABCQRTT.
It was a good bit. Yeah, and it's a shame because all the excellent material was out of that surveillance story.
And then just a really lame B story dragged it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we move on, I do want to say, what are your best and worst? Because your top 5s were ranked, weren't they?
Oh, roughly, yeah.
Okay. Because I want to say, worst, White Christmas Blues. Funeral for the Fiend was close, but I just, again, the fact that I saw it and just saw red as soon as I saw the words written down. And I'm going to say my best, it's very tough, but I think I'm going to go Lisa's Pony.
Yeah?
It's a tough call.
It was so good, though.
It is a very, very great episode.
So much heart and so much love was clearly poured into that episode. And this is one where you get jerk-ass Homer, but the rest of the episode is about his redemption.
Yeah. And he works very hard for it, so it's beautiful.
Absolutely. And shows the level of sacrifice, and also Lisa learns how she was being a jerk-ass, All those years of wanting to be treated like an adult have just blown up in my face. What a crushing line.
Oh, yeah. From an 8-year-old.
From an 8-year-old, no less. So, my best and worst were White Christmas Blues and Homer the Great. Yeah,
no, fair enough. Last thing I wanted to mention was The Simpsons. It was probably the strangest episode we saw that wasn't awful.
Yeah.
I'm still not even sure how to feel about it.
It was weird. And we're talking about, does it work outside the parody? And it really doesn't, because the best I could say about this episode is, hey, if you're a fantasy fan, you might get something.
Yeah, and I feel like there are a lot more background jokes to draw from it, but it's just the whole apro of nothing that they're in this setting is still a little hard to swallow.
Yeah. And the thing I keep coming back to is it totally should have been a storyline about Marge's mother dying IRL. Yeah, that would have been an emotional gut punch and worth it, because it's not like we've seen Marge's mum for ages. Exactly. And I know Julie Kavanagh probably doesn't want to do that voice anymore. Yeah. Well, she stated specifically that she didn't, and that they hinged an entire episode on it. To not have it be the farewell for that character, yeah. And for it to be about her dying anyway, like, why not? It was a bit of a bummer, but All right, so yeah, I think that does it with Simpsons talk now.
Yeah, let's talk about all things 2017.
All right,
The year in which I learned the true meaning of fidget spinners.
And then fidget spinners learnt the true meaning of being a fad.
Yep.
All right, we'll be back. All right, and we are back with our No Review Part 2 special. No Review the 2.
Hero of the river.
The second of the Beckend.
I mean, we should just stop.
No, the riff will come round to working again. I guarantee it.
What are you even trying to riff on? I was trying to contribute, then I forgot what we were trying to do.
We forgot what we were trying to do. Part 2. This is the No Review special. So first of all, I'd like to talk about some podcasts that I've been listening to.
Sure.
Go back and forth and give each other and by extension all the other people out there some recommendations.
Yeah.
Hit on it before. Pods in the Key of Springfield, who I mentioned before. Yeah, great Simpsons reviews. They're currently about to start season 3. Highly recommended. But also another sort of TV companion podcast that I've been getting into is Burgers and Fries. And they're a Bob's Burgers show.
Okay, nice.
And yeah, it's sort of good because, it's hard to watch TV when you're doing other tasks, and you have to leave the room and you can't always drag the TV with you. So I like these companion podcasts that remind me of shows that I've seen a million times before.
And just, that give you new perspectives on stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and they're really good. They did a interview with the guy who plays... I forget his character's name. They do that father-daughter Japanese karate movie thing.
Yeah.
Hawk and...
Hawk and Sparrow, or Hawk and whatever a baby bird is called.
The episode was called Hawk and Chick, Hawk and Chick, Hawk and Chick. But yeah, they had an interview with the guy who played the old Japanese man, and yeah, that was quite good.
The little riff on Lone Wolf and Cub as well.
Yeah, I think that's what they were referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how about you?
Let's see. Of course, Critical Role is going to be my first out the gate here.
Yep.
They've wrapped what's effectively their first season because all their characters have leveled up. For those of you who don't know, this is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, but all the players are professional voice actors. And so they really get into the role-playing aspects and things like that, and it's a very good show. I got a bit emotional on the final episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It tugs at the heartstrings. It has the hearts and the feels.
It has the hearts. It has the feels.
You felt the bumps?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. So what are some of the voice actors that have been on it?
Ashley Johnson, who unfortunately does have to step out for quite large chunks of it because she started getting involved in a TV show called Blind Spot. Looks pretty interesting. I have not seen it.
I love Ashley Johnson. She's such an amazing talent.
Yeah. There's Laura Bailey, who, look her up. She's done a whole bunch of stuff. Most recently, she was Shelob in Shadow of War. Matthew Mercer, who, again, is actually Overwatch. It's high noon.
Oh, God.
Yeah. He was talking about how if he plays Overwatch, he just does McCready's It's High Noon so people run from him. And he's like, wait, I thought you had. He's like, nope.
That's excellent.
Again, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Let's see if I can remember all of them. Taliesin Jaffe. Again, just look these people up. They're names you don't know, and then you look what they've done. You're like, I've played that. I know that voice. Sam Riegel, Marisha Ray, Travis, what's his last name? See, he's the biggest and scariest. So.
Yeah.
You know what? Come to Australia, Travis. Come on.
Come get us. You can't.
And yeah, a few other guest stars pop in and out.
Cool.
Liam O'Brien. I forgot about him.
Oh, okay. Who's he?
Again, look him up.
Just another voice actor?
Yeah, again, I guess that's the up and down of being a voice actor is... You're in a bunch of stuff. You probably get very steady work if you're good enough, but no one will know you.
Oh, you're that guy.
Travis Willingham. There it is. Okay.
Travis Willingham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a few years ago, John DiMaggio, Bender from Futurama, Jake the Dog.
Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
Oh, that's right. He was that too. He produced a documentary called I Know That Voice. And yeah, it was lots of interviews with lots of voice actors who have got these impressive resumes, and most of them say, oh yeah, people have never heard of me. But, when I turn it on.
Yeah, as soon as they drop one of their famous lines or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see that.
Yeah, it was well produced. It sort of felt a bit just a collection of interviews, not so much like a documentary that has a story.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, because if you're curious about the profession, and I am, then there'd be something interesting to hear about that. And it must be a weird balance of being a working actor in Hollywood that no one knows.
Like Frank Welker is like in the top 5, maybe even top 3 earning actors of all time because he does every animal voice.
Yeah, and he pops up constantly in The Simpsons. No one will have any clue who he is or what. We don't know what he looks like. We've heard of him.
No, I've seen a picture of him 2 seconds later, forgot it.
Yeah. It's like, what is it, Andy Sorkin?
Andy Serkis?
Serkis. Oh, is it Serkis? Okay. Yeah.
The Golem guy?
Yeah. Who, again, is probably going to be one of the greatest examples of this kind of condition where he's been in multiple blockbusters and is not really even a household name, despite lending a lot to those performances. So I've heard some interesting things, people talking about that kind of motion capture. Should it be in consideration for an Oscar?
Yeah.
And some people saying no because, multiple people go into creating this character and they're like, yeah, but in a normal performance, so does a director, an editor, sound design. That might be piecing your performance together from multiple takes. Is that really different from having a team work on a character like Golem or something like that?
Yeah.
Or Caesar from the Planet of the Apes movies or something like that.
He was them to... Oh, wait, no, that was done through his production company, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but he's, one of these examples of someone who is effectively a big deal. I'm sure he's still getting work. Hopefully he's getting well paid for it.
Yeah. Well, you just look like at one of his projects and you'd say, well, he makes bank from that.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes, I haven't seen any of them, but absolutely successful reboot of the franchise. And he's making Disney money now because he's in the Avengers and, Lord of the Rings, for fuck's sake.
And he's the go-to for mocap, so...
Yeah.
Just speaking on that briefly, was also the voice actors strike earlier in this year because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because, especially in video games, there was no regulation to, if you're doing the voice, does that also mean you're doing mocap? And are you getting paid more for that? What's the, health insurance like and shit like that? I don't know. Stuff.
I was going to mention that because, John DiMaggio spoke out a lot about, doing Marcus. He loves doing the voice and whatever, but, 3 hours of his voice recording sessions are just, fuck, and like that's got to kill you. And Nolan North, someone who I just have tremendous amounts of respect as well. Really broke it down in a great essay, sort of open letter sort of thing about the strike, and it's well worth a read. Yeah,
I think it's just one of those things where I think it's less of a strike and more a demand for this to be regulated because it just isn't. And that's obviously going to cause a lot of problems, especially for anyone trying to break into it who's new or anything like that. And just, hopefully that's resolved. I actually don't know how that ended.
I believe it was only resolved a few weeks ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully they got a lot of what they wanted.
Yep. So another podcast I want to mention is All My Friends Are in Bar Bands. This is only one that I've actually only recently started listening to because, admit it, I'm a musician, but I'm only just starting to get back into music again after a long period without. And I really like this podcast. It's a bit lacking in production. It sort of sounds like the microphone was in the corner of another room, but fortunately the host, David James Young, he's really funny and engaging, and he's got such a massive passion for music, and I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he likes. He's been to see a Justin Bieber concert unironically, but I just admire his passion for it. And he's had on a lot of great guests lately, like Alex Leahy, Sarah Thompson from Camp Cope, Sadie Dupuy from Speedy Ortiz. I can't know how to say her name, but that was an impressive interview. Katie Baker, and just a bunch of mostly Australian musicians come on, and he just has an hour-long chat with them. It's really good. What about you?
I'm going to actually give a bit of it's not actually a podcast, but you can, I don't know, maybe you can find it on podcast networks. I don't know.
Yep.
I just find it through YouTube. Suspense Radio from CBS back in the 50s. As we've mentioned on the previous No Review special, I've been writing a lot of kind of radio play stuff that we should hopefully be launching early next year.
Yeah, and looking at about mid to late February at the moment for the launch of Pulp Fury Radio. But we've finished principal photography. It's not photography.
Principal recording.
Yeah, principal audio has been recorded.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to the well effectively and see how this was done. It's a bit hit and miss, and as anything would be, I suppose, but there's just a lot of interesting stuff to mine there. You get to hear a lot of famous actors who you may not have heard in other things. So, for example, there's a good one with Lucille Ball in it.
Oh, wow.
Actually pretty funny. And, if you know anything about television history, what she did to revolutionize TV was very important. Yeah, and there's another one with Jimmy Stewart of Rear Window and that kind of thing. So this was obviously a big deal back in the day.
Wow.
And you get to actually hear they do little advertisements as well, which is just interesting to hear. I always kind of whenever you pick up an old VHS or something, I kind of like watching the ads and just seeing what they were like then.
Yeah, I've got a big box of old recorded shows, like a lot of Simpsons compilations. Yeah, maybe we should chuck them in one night, fire up the VCR on one of them.
I remember that ad. I bought this. Shit.
Yeah.
So Orson Welles shows up in a couple. It's a lot of stuff. So yeah, Suspense Radio. Type it into YouTube and find one of those things that lets you download the audio for YouTube clips and have a listen.
Cool. Yeah, next podcast I want to point out is Dirty John. Now, I haven't listened to a lot of this style of podcast where it's its own little 6-part series, true crime series.
Okay.
Like, a lot of people went on about Serial. It kind of lost me after 2 episodes. And I listened to S-Town as well. And I found it very unsatisfying, but it's real life, so it doesn't... real life isn't satisfying, but...
Oh, yeah, duh. That's why we listen to fiction.
Yeah, but they were sort of ramping up and raising all these questions, and at the end went, well, we don't have a clue, so bye. Whereas Dirty John is its own whole, wrapped up story about a guy who, deceived a woman into thinking he was a anesthesiologist, but it turns out he was just wearing scrubs every day for show, and he was actually an ex-con that, only got out of prison, a week, 2 weeks before meeting her.
All right.
And he was the evidence was there that he was starting the plan to, drain her of her money and maybe kill her. Yeah, it's just a completely incredibly engaging story, and I lost a whole day to that.
Nice.
Mind you, I was playing Splatoon at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I'll talk about more later. Another podcast I want to mention is Bang On with Myth Warhurst and Zan Rowe from Triple J.
I was going to say, I know those names.
Yeah.
Not too many myths out there.
It's short for Myfanwy.
Oh, wow. Well, there's so many Myfanwys.
Yeah.
Jeez, they usually just shorten it to Fanwy.
Hello, all our Myfanwys out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what Zan is short for, though. It might be short for something, I don't know.
Xanthippe.
Possibly. So in Bang On, they just sort of do a half an hour to 40-minute podcast each week and just talk about the week that was and sort of, art and culture that affected them, essentially what we're doing right now.
Yeah, cool.
And they're just incredibly likable. I know there's a lot of these sort of podcasts out, but I feel like, their specific interests are quite engaging. And, I've been trying to absorb more content from females more this year. Just sort of a little goal.
It's a fair goal to have.
And I think they deliver it with a really good perspective. Another podcast recommendation?
Yeah, I'm going to throw one out to Sans Pants Radio. I've done this before. Before I talked about D&D is for nerds. This time I'm going to want to plug their Dinosaur Park. So,
yeah,
it's actually a spin-off from one of their other shows. If you do happen to track down the playlist, it's on YouTube. You can look it up on their website. It's also on your average podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, is what I'm trying to say in an incredibly roundabout way. Do start with a recap, because it comes off from one of their episodes of Plumbing the Death Star. They talk about how badly John Hammond ran Jurassic Park and how they would do it better. That's hilarious. And then you get into them playing a role-playing game through Dinosaur Park, and it's one of my favorite things. I've listened to it over 3 times, just the whole thing beginning to end.
So
I love it. It's hilarious.
Wow, 3 times already. So coming back to, because before in the No Review special you said part of the appeal about these guys is that they're really bad at D&D. Does it carry through with this one? Are they still bad at it?
This one they're playing Rysis, which is a different system. It's kind of harder to be bad at it, but they do make some... They're working with a different DM as well.
Yep.
So they're working with Jackson Bailey, who doesn't really care if they go off script. In fact, it kind of encourages it. They throw some really bizarre things that they occasionally get away with. It's pretty damn hilarious. I think it's one of the funniest podcasts I've ever listened to. And they do have a follow-up, Dinosaur World, which is wackier. I don't know if it's better, but that's down to you. I highly recommend checking out Dinosaur Park. But again, make sure you start with a recap.
Awesome. Okay. Next one I'll mention is Whiting Wong's. And last time I definitely mentioned Harmontown. I fucking love that podcast. And it's very hit or miss, but it's one that...
Yeah, Harmontown did lose me eventually.
Yeah, I can understand that. But to me, it's just getting my Wednesday meal now.
All right.
Whatever my lunch tradition for Wednesday is, it's just... But it's Wednesday. It's taco day. And I don't even know that the tacos taste that great anymore, but...
Taco is Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about how dumb it is when people say Taco Wednesday. It's it's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. The alliteration is right there.
It was even in the Simpsons episode. God damn it. New Simpsons is affecting me that I'm forgetting which day I eat tacos. But, it's my routine now. And Yeah, like I said, it's pretty inconsistent, especially lately because they lost their venue at one point, so they did a couple of studio shows and that didn't work out. But yeah, I think it's just fascinating the way he sort of delves into society the way he does, and he sort of continues that with Whiting Wong's, where it's a show with him and Jessica Gao, who's like one of his writer friends.
Yeah, I know that name from something.
Yeah, she's done a bunch of stuff. So they like really get in and deep and talk about sort of racial issues, and they have guests and stuff, and I think it's just a necessary conversations to be having right now, but conversations that I'm definitely uncomfortable having myself.
Well, as he said about 800 times in the maybe 40 episodes of Time and Tower I listened to, race is really interesting to me. I like it's an interesting concept. So not surprising he has a podcast all about that.
Yeah, well, they're only about 9 episodes in as well, and you can start anywhere. Yeah, so anyway, Whiting Wongs, do you have any other podcast recommendations?
Not so much recommendations. I've only just started listening to it, and I don't know how I feel about it just yet, but Welcome to Night Vale.
Oh, yeah, that's been recommended to me, because especially with the Pulp Fury Radio stuff we're doing.
So it's basically, it's like the public broadcast radio for this really strange town of Night Vale where a bunch of weird stuff keeps happening.
Yep.
So far it isn't really following, I'm only maybe 6 episodes in. It's not really following a plot line as such. It's more just announcing strange things that have been happening throughout the town of Night Vale.
So it doesn't feel like it's leading up to a bigger thing?
Well, they have like 115 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So if they have that many, I feel like surely we start hitting some kind of thread of a plot line or something at some point. I don't know. Like I said, I'm 6 in. I'm curious, though. It is well made. I have issues because their first episode has like 5 minutes of ads before it starts playing. It's like, stop trying to sell me things. Let me know if I want to keep listening before you say I can buy your stuff at your website.
Well, advertising in podcasting, man, it's got to be a tricky thing because, and I think that's why so many apps have now the 15-second skip button on it.
Quite possible.
And I really wish I had it in my car. Like, my car's got all these amazing new features now, but all I want is to skip 15 seconds at a time.
That's fair.
And now it's a piece of shit, and I'm going to go junk it because of that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I crush it. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue until I feel like I don't want to anymore. It is very good for stimulating the imagination, I'll say that. Because they'll just like casually mention this one little thing, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And if you're me, you're like, well, what if I take that, but instead of doing what you just said, I kind of do this instead, and can I build a story out of that?
Yeah.
So, as an example, there's one where it just goes, a reminder that all the books in Night Vale have stopped working. Do not touch a book. It could harm you. Or something like that. It's very quick. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. What if you had a story where a guy, every book he starts reading starts becoming the same book he reads over and over, as if the book was possessed and like coming from book to book and following him around. What could I do with that? So is that going to be an episode of Pulp Fury in the future? I have no idea, but I like that.
So no matter what book he picks up, like say it's...
when he starts reading The Cat in the Hat, it starts becoming like this different text.
And on the first day.
Or whatever it may be. I don't know yet, but I was like, okay, a book's broken. How could it be broken? I suppose maybe it just starts being the wrong book when you start reading it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like about Welcome to Night Vale so far, is it does, if you're like me and you get a whisper of someone else's idea, you're like, well, that's interesting, but what if I change this and this so it's a new idea?
Yeah.
And then start following that idea down. So I'm curious to keep on going. I'm hoping it does start to form more of a plot thread for something to carry through.
Yeah. So you're at the beginning.
Yeah. You know me, I like going all the way back to the beginning of stuff and starting from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I sort of find out refreshing about podcasts, because unless it's like one of these story ones like Dirty John or S Town or whatever, that you can just sort of jump in at any time. And, you know, it might take you a few episodes to start building up the knowledge of the callbacks and stuff. But yeah.
Nope, back to the beginning. 100% or nothing.
The completionist over here.
Mm-hmm.
The next podcast I'll throw some love to is Unhinged Uncast.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, this is made by our good friend Julia Wilson and her comedy stand-up friend Mick Meredith. And they just sort of talk about anything and everything for about 30 to 40 minutes.
So yeah, it is a bit scattershot in that, but when they get on a good line.
Yeah, but just be aware, don't listen to it in the car with kids. It's a very, very dirty podcast.
NSFW.
anyone who's seen either of their stand-up shows will know.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're great stand-ups as well outside of that. But yeah, Unhinged, Uncast, like, really gives you a good window into that. And yeah, she was saying a story about, like, one of her girlfriends or whatever who's had kids, and she had to shut it off right away.
Fair enough.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even need to tell you what she was talking about. It was Julia.
Yeah, it was Julie. It was blowjobs. No, I think what
Have you heard her Louder Than Judas Priest story?
I have. I just can't remember it right. I think I've heard half of it or something like that.
Yeah, because she was staying in a hotel room with Mick Meredith, and he had earphones in, and she brought home two guys and trying to drown it out the next morning. Goes, Christ, you're louder than Judas Priest.
Good on you, Jules. And
Yeah.
I think if for an international listeners, it's a good insight to Australiana. For
Oh,
our Australian
definitely.
listeners, it has nuggets. What's the exact quote again? It's like you're like a goon bag left in a parking lot.
Yeah, you're an empty wine bottle in a parking lot, mate.
Yeah, so simultaneously know exactly what that means and also could not explain it to anyone.
Yeah. Oh, they're great. And also another Australian podcast, which is Story Club. It's actually, I reckon if you've got a friend that doesn't really know podcast, get podcast, this would actually be a really good thing to introduce because they're 15-minute episodes. They're once a week. Sometimes they're once a fortnight. And they're just one story from the Giant Dwarf Story Club show, which is comedians and storytellers getting up and telling a story. And they're generally sort of comedy-based and stuff. But because it is, 10 to 15 minutes, it's really digestible. And I think one problem that people have with podcasts is they do go for a long time. Yeah, and, people go, oh, I don't have time to listen to it. And
Yeah.
Whereas this one, yeah, very, very quick and easy and digestible.
Or if you're like me, it's like, okay, I'm going to go back 700 hours. Okay. Episode 1.
I'm just going to throw some quick love to some other podcasts. The Dr. Carl podcast, I love that there's so many science shows in podcasts, but man, I've only got enough brain power for the soft sciences.
It's Carl, mate.
Yeah, so Dr. Carl, love him. And also In Situ podcast, friend of the show, James produces that one. It's another science podcast. He does interviews with scientists around New South Wales, and that's really good. Filthy Casuals and Little Dum Dum Club. I've only just started listening to them, but I think I like them.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
And finally, IGN Pubcast. It's fucking one of the best names for a podcast, and I'm super jealous of them.
Yep.
And they're probably one of the reasons that the Simpsons Index exists.
Wow.
Fuck, have I even told you this?
Maybe.
Oh,
I drink a lot. So.
May as well. Well, because IGN Pubcast sort of put out a challenge a few years ago now, like probably a year and a half before I started. At that time, Harry Shearer was leaving, and they were sort of talking about that in the show and, talking about how they have not kept up in the last few years because of how shit it's been. But if someone were to put together a list of good episodes, then maybe they'd check them out. And so I did that, and I doubt they checked it out. But it's sort of planted the seed in my head of, what if people had a reference guide to go and check out these new episodes?
I only want to watch the most silver episodes. Where would I find this information? Yeah.
So yeah, combined that with my love of worst episode ever, and that's where that began.
Neat.
All right, so how about TV?
Oh, man. Got some fun ones mentioned here. Let's see, where do we start? I'm going to start with the one that you're not going to mention, which is Ash vs. Evil Dead, which had its second season.
Oh, I've so far I'm better than I've been than the last No Review special. I've now seen 15 minutes of the first Evil Dead movie, so I'm getting there.
Yeah, bit by bit.
By No Review special 48, I will have seen the whole movie.
Yeah, cool. No, look, Evil Dead franchise is my favorite movie. It's also my favorite horror movie, obviously.
Yep.
And the show is really good. Season 1 was definitely better, but Season 2 still has some good stuff in it. I'm hoping they get to Season 3. And there's nothing quite like seeing, actors getting splattered with just excessive amounts of gore.
Oh, fantastic.
Still very much in the vein of Sam Raimi's Splat Stick, which is...
Sam Raimi have anything to do with this?
Produced.
Okay.
So yeah, he's involved, and I think was a little more involved in the first one in terms of... because I watched the commentary afterwards. They were talking about how in the first episode they tried a bunch of different directors, and the second season they've kind of handpicked their directors they liked working with. That's cool, and it's funny and it's gory and it's silly and it's horror and it's great. I'm looking forward to the new season, but yeah, first season was definitely better.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, I feel like I should watch the movies at least first before I get into that.
Yeah, it's more of a continuation of Army of Darkness, the third movie, than it is of the first two, but yeah, worth checking out.
Well, I'll talk about something that you've seen a little bit of, is that I've been doing a rewatch of King of the Hill lately.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting. I started doing it because I didn't really like the show that much when it was out, but everyone keeps referring to it as this excellent show. So, and especially now with us doing the index, I feel like I've actually got a few more critical skills.
Yeah, we've got a few more tools, I think.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's definitely getting better. I'm up to I've just started season 5.
Yeah, because I've only watched a couple, and I've just dropped in occasionally. And the first couple I saw, I think, were from season 1 when you were watching it. And they were, maybe it was 2.
Season 4.
Season 4. Oh, yeah, and they were all right. But then I saw one. Can't even remember what happens. Bobby has like his 13th birthday, and it was much funnier.
Yeah,
and just paced better as well.
Yeah, Bobby is definitely the best part of that show.
Oh, yeah, no question. All of his lines are hilarious.
He's so ridiculously charming and everything, and, does really well for a short little fat kid, you know.
I do really like the episode we saw where he's becomes like a southern dandy for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. So influenced by any confident people.
Yeah, that he just accepts their mannerisms and
Yeah, and that's sort of like the dynamic that I like, where Hank is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Kids of these days and such.
Who knows? Maybe someday in the future we'll be going, and for the good rankings we have good, bronze, great, silver, excellent, gold, but for the best of the best, you rank those propane.
Because propane is the top industry standard for grills.
That's not a bad hill.
Thank you. I've watched like 5 seasons of it in 2 weeks. Yeah, but I will say the one thing that stands out to me immediately about the show is that there is not a lot of wasted time on it. I talk so much about the Simpsons Index where, why did they make room for this bit?
Yeah.
Who fucking thought this was so funny that we could deviate from the story? And King of the Hill does not do that. It is so story-focused that every little piece is there for a reason. And I respect the show for that, but that sort of, in the same way, makes it a boring show at times.
Yeah, because you don't have a B story that they can throw to the pastime.
And it doesn't necessarily always have jokes either.
Yeah.
And sometimes they, just go for pure emotional stories. And I mean, kudos to them for it. It's that, I'm still unconvinced that it's an excellent show, because it's also especially problematic where, because it is set in Texas and it's about Texan characters, they're going to try and have some of them be sort of some of these Texan stereotypes, which leads to some problematic scenes. And so, there's a bunch of race stuff which really makes me uncomfortable. And there's a couple of times where Hank actually gets sexually assaulted in the show.
Yeah, you were mentioning.
Yeah, and it's not just that one episode. I found another one the other day where it happens, and everyone just puts the onus on him to tell Peggy the truth rather than, hey, you were inappropriately and unwantedly touched, are you okay? And so there's moments like that, but I'm still getting there. Check in with me in a few weeks and maybe I'll finish it, I'm not sure. What else for you for TV?
We both watched the hell out of Glow.
Oh, yeah, Glow.
I nearly forgot about it when I was making a list, but
it didn't even make mine. Oh my God, I'm terrible.
Yeah. No, again, it was the last thing I wrote down, but we both loved the crap out of it.
Yeah, I watched it twice. Amazing television.
Yeah, not going to lie, I just watched it because Alison Brie was in it. But then after this first episode, I went, I am going to continue this. And it just ends up being some great TV.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, this is based off the real story of Glow, the glamorous ladies of wrestling. Basically about...
Gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Basically about, some struggling actors who find, hey, maybe this wrestling thing will give us a breakthrough. And, they're kind of trials of getting that right. And there's a lot of, it kind of steers away from a lot of cliches that I thought were really good. Like the guy producing it, you think, okay, he's going to be like this sleazy 80s producer who's only in it for the tits and money. But he ends up being really passionately driven by, what he's trying to do here. And so the first time you meet him, he's talking about, no, we shouldn't be having this long, complicated plot. We need to make this, quick and fast and gritty. And so, but then he turns around and you realize he's really driven from this, and that becomes really interesting. And the character's really well done, and it's well acted, and it looks great. Mark Maron's hilarious in it. Yeah. Everyone's hilarious in it. Great show. Check it out. On the Netflix.
I'm absolutely stoked that it's gotten a second season now as well, because that was the one thing that I was going to say about the finale of that show is, if this is it, I really hate that there was only one wrestling event in the show. Yeah. And this isn't a spoiler. That's what they're all leading up to, the one wrestling event. And I really would have liked to see more about, ongoing shows and what it's like for wrestlers touring on the road. But
yeah, apparently it's just hellish. So.
Yeah. Fuck, bands complain about touring all the time, but the wrestlers, man, they're putting their bodies on the line literally every second that they're out there.
Yeah. So highly recommend that. Check that one out.
Yeah, definitely. And another one that we both checked out was Big Mouth. I thought that was worth a mention because it's not the greatest show, but
it has a lot of potential. It really hits some great highs. But it's also just got some very odd bits that just I don't know why this is here. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a very surreal show, and so you sort of get used to the hormone monster and his sort of deal of who can see him when and why and how much effect is he having on the real world. And
but then there's the ghost of
Duke Ellington,
which I really don't like those parts.
Neither.
Kills it for me. It's basically, it works like his Wilson. The characters wander up and have a heart-to-heart and find out what to do, and to me it doesn't land at all.
Which is a shame because I love Jordan Peele.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I don't know, it's just something the way it really feels like it just breaks flow of the episode entirely. I don't know. I would scrap those parts. I think they're, unfortunately, despite the talent behind them, they are just weak parts that don't work. For me at least. Yeah,
and it's such a shame that episode 3, when they're doing the gay episode, and that Duke Ellington's such a big part of it. His big song in that just felt really uncomfortable.
A very not on message of the rest of the show. I suppose you could say he's coming from the old world perspective, but even then, it just, from the perspective of the show, it feels like a big tonal shift.
Yeah. I reckon if you're going to watch it, maybe even skipping that episode, because what comes after that in episodes 4, 5, and 6 is that's the series high point right there, especially the one where Jesse's sort of going through puberty and...
girl puberty that isn't just all about gross out humor. That doesn't happen terribly often, so check that one out.
No, that's the thing, and for a really surreal show, they make those moments of the kids growing up feel super real.
For the most part. Occasionally it's this has gone a little weird.
Occasionally you'll find one of the characters is having a deep emotional relationship with his pillow.
Yeah, and you're I do not know how I feel about this, and now it's a bath mat.
Pretty bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre stuff. Worth checking out, I suppose. Other one, we mostly watched independently, but then what binged all at the same time was American Vandal.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, this one was just great. I mean, we were talking to Phil about it, and it took him a long time to realize it was actually, made up. It wasn't a real documentary. But yeah, I don't want to call it a mockumentary, because even though it is a fictional documentary, it's not making fun of the subject matter like Best in Show or Spinal Tap or something like that. But yeah, effectively a mockumentary style, really well acted, really laugh out loud funny in parts.
Yeah.
All centering around the graffitiing of dicks on cars at a school. And
which is the amazing anchor that this episode ties itself to.
I think that's one of the best parts, is you find yourself really invested in the characters, and then every now and then your brain slams on the brakes hang on, we talk about fictional penises being drawn on fictional cars. Why am I so into this?
Yeah, you're worried about the emotional stakes of the episode. What's going to happen? But how does this relate to the dicks?
Let's look at it. All comes back to the dicks. Yeah.
And just incredibly well acted from a lot of these young actors as well. I want to point out the scene with Mackenzie in the second last episode especially.
Yeah, she's really carries a lot of emotion in that bit. And
half of it's just a shot of her as sort of the documentarian is sort of reading out bullet points. And,
and it's just reaction.
Yeah, and you're watching her go through a spectrum of emotions, and then when she opens her mouth, the subtext of that she's got a big secret to hide and she's trying to sort of shoot him down. It's just incredible.
Yeah. I don't know I don't want to say too much because obviously spoilers. I feel like I liked it enough to never want another season because I feel like there's no way to do it again. without it feeling really trite.
Yeah.
So hopefully we never see you again, American Vandal, despite the fact that I love the crap out of you.
And I can confirm that there is a second 8-episode series premiering next year.
No.
I'm not down with that.
Like, I don't know how you could do it again. What is it going to be? Another vandalism? And he has to invade another thing? I'll watch it, obviously. But I just feel like it won't strike twice unless it's somehow completely different, but also still a sequel. I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, and...
Surprise me, American Vandal. You did the first time.
Yeah, maybe you can anthology this one. I don't know.
But then you're anthologizing the exact same concept
thing,
of someone vandalizing something on a documentary about it. So unless it's someone who saw American Vandal and then is doing the same in their school, but I'd love to be wrong on this one, but I don't see that working.
Yeah, well, I mean, as its own thing, the fucking first series is, unbelievably awesome, and I think you said it as well, better than it had any right to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and I'm sure there'll be some people who can't get into it because of the subject matter, fair enough. But for me, I think you can make a good series or a good movie out of anything. There are sport movies I like.
Yeah,
I don't care for sports. One of the most annoying reviews I ever read was someone who reviewed King of Kong and was like, but it's just such a stupid idea. Like, who cares if you're the best at a video game in the world? Like, they sell you on it, goddammit. They sell you on the idea that this is important to them. So the fact that you didn't means you're a soulless coward, whoever wrote that review.
Yeah. Oh, King of Kong was amazing.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite movies, not just documentaries, but just films. I say that having never rewatched it, but
yeah, they had a follow-up about a guy who was playing like a centipede clone game.
All right.
It was all right, but it was definitely the Diet Coke, to the
King of Kong's king status.
The next show I want to talk about is Rick and Morty Season 3. I know that in the Venn diagram of cartoon lovers that there'd be a lot of crossover with Simpson fan and Rick and Morty.
I feel like that's fair.
So I'm just going to say for this one, it's a complete spoiler conversation.
You're not going to interlude with a song? Spoilers for Rick and Morty Season 3.
Watch out for spoilers. Yeah, so spoilers, Rick and Morty Season 3, even though they're sort of separate episodes, they're not one big grand tale, but I feel like if anyone was sort of saving themselves or something. But anyway, what do you think of this season?
I feel like it kept forgetting what had happened in the previous episodes.
Sure.
So the first comeback, we find out that no, Rick didn't bust out of prison to save his family and Earth from alien invasion. He did it because fuck Jerry, he got him out of his life. Yep. He's now hailed as a hero. It's all about him. He's yelling about how this is going to be the darkest season ever. And then that just does not happen.
No, it really didn't.
Like, Rick really flips motivations a lot, and it's not carried by anything, I suppose. So, I mean, there's some, very good parts related to that. The whole therapist bit at the end of the Pickle Rick episode.
Incredible.
That's really good stuff.
Yeah. And that's sort of like, to use Simpsons index terms, a cubic zirconia bit in what I'd consider like a silver episode. Yeah,
because it's a lot of fun, and some people are like, what? Why did you just call that because there's not a lot of content there. I mean, the action sequences are great.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not a lot of content.
But it's funny, because in an episode of Harmontown leading up to this season, he goes, there's some pacing problems in episode 3, but I don't want to get into it. And I remembered that, and I'm like, oh my God, there are pacing problems in Pickle Rick, because I feel like I stop loving the Pickle story once he gets into the building.
Yeah, it is definitely the less memorable part.
Yeah, but then that becomes such a huge chunk of the episode, and I really liked seeing Rick build himself up from the pickle, and it sort of...
Yeah, it was nice going from lying on the pavement, drying out in the sun.
Yeah. And I just don't think there was enough build-up between playing with the cockroach brain to building an exoskeleton out of rat corpses.
Yeah, like, how did he build that if he didn't have arms yet?
Yeah. Were there any other standout episodes from the season for you, for better?
ABC's of Beth, which...
That was crazy.
Beth is scary.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a wrong turn for her character, because now she's like... Yeah, you're not a good person in the slightest. And what really bothers me is I feel like a lot of people are going to take what's said in that episode and use it to justify their own shittiness. Because Rick goes, you're not evil, you're just smart. It's like, no, she's not terribly smart. She's a horse doctor. Sure, that requires some intelligence, but she's not genius level. And she's not, doing anything to better the world, or she's not doing anything to better herself or anyone. It's just, she's just a relatively intelligent human being. and her actions in that episode are evil.
Yeah.
And people are like, evil is just a relative term, BT Calloway. It's like, no, it's not. It's very easily defined by how you treat people who have nothing to do with you.
See, this is going to be the difficult thing talking about this because there's so many opinionated Rick and Morty fans out there.
There are. But again, occasionally I feel like they're walking away with a wrong lesson, and the fucking Szechuan sauce debacle really confirmed that.
Yeah.
You know, Pickle Rick is a good example of this. They walk around with a "fuck yeah, I'm Pickle Rick" slogan with missing the whole therapy bit where they talk about how he responds to the world around him and why. And it's like, this is basically literally staring down the barrel of the camera, saying it directly to the audience. If you think this is you, you're wrong, and here's why. And I guarantee you there are people who didn't pick that up.
Absolutely. And I think the obsessive fandom is sort of unwarranted because it's not a perfect show either. Like, there are, 2-3 episodes from each season that I would actually say, it's not that great. I don't think I'd watch that again in my Rick and Morty rewatches.
Yeah, I didn't like what the one with the memories and Morty's lost memories.
Oh, Morty's Mind Blowers?
Morty's Mind Blowers. Like, instead of... First of all, they literally announced that that's what they're doing instead of all the...
International...
infinite...
Intergalactic?
Interdimensional infinite television. God.
We got into it eventually.
So first of all, they announced that. It's like, okay, geez. And then just some of the stories within that are really dumb.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no, this was not... And this wasn't improvised like interdimensional TV was. You could have gone back and rewritten them instead so they wouldn't suck.
Yeah. And... I'll say that the final episode, the sort of Rick versus the President episode, there was some really good action sequences, but I just found myself being bored by the story, really.
Yeah, and it was a touch smug.
Yeah, there's probably an overall air of smugness about this season, actually.
Yeah. But I think, the worst thing was the hardcore fan reaction of just, you guys really don't quite get that. If anything, you could argue Rick is the villain here.
Oh, definitely. That's why I really loved the episode The Whirly Durly Conspiracy, because you had, Jerry and Rick sort of finally understanding each other.
Yeah.
And
even if only briefly.
Oh my God, getting a brief window of dumb passive Rick. I want to watch a 90-minute cut of Avatar. Oh yeah, the Citadel episode. Where we saw all the Rick and Mortys.
Yeah.
I really dug that as a concept, sort of seeing all the different sides of each character.
Yeah, and it was a very rich, interesting one. It is my main thing I will point to say this is why Rick is evil.
Yeah.
Happily just slaughtering anyone who's not even in his way, just kills them all, just because feels like it. So,
totally.
That's why.
So, I mean, overall, it's... I'm not going to rate this over season 1 or 2, but... it's mostly good.
Yeah, so it's still worth. If you've already watched the other two, you're watching this anyway. So
yeah, and I'll just say out there, just please, Rick and Morty fans, just try and feel a bit of gravity. Like the show isn't flawless.
Yeah, unless you can build a laser out of the things you're currently standing in, you are not a genius. You are a Jerry. Accept it.
Yep.
I did love that.
Any other TV shows you want to mention?
BoJack Horseman.
Hey, that was my next one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, not the best season, but I think it was solid.
Yeah, very solid. I think this is just a great example of how weird it is that a show about anthropomorphic animals living with actual humans can deliver such amazing emotional, pretty much Oscar-worthy level emotional roller coaster rides. There's a whole thing with his mum and she's reliving the past, and you dress that up and put Laura Linney in it, and that's going to get some Oscar nods.
Absolutely.
The same kind of plot line, and it's just, really interesting and really deep, and then just swerves into some weird slapstick stuff for shits and giggles.
Yeah. So I totally could have done without Todd's whole storyline about the clown dentists.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, compare that to his whole... starts off as like a Uber for women, but then becomes like a stripper Uber, and then hilariously all comes together in an end, and when I won't spoil. Whereas this one, let's just check in on the Todd corner.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. It's a waste of the character. It's a waste of the actor. But again, everything else is really, really good. So.
Like, yeah, to their credit, they brought it in at the end with the zombie clown doctor dentist chasing people for fitness or whatever, but it wasn't satisfying, really.
No, not in the way it's been previously. So
Yeah, but they delved more into Todd's asexuality in the episode, which I think was actually a really important angle. You know, you got a lot of shows, you know, trying to be inclusive of LGBT people, and yeah, the A often gets left out.
Yeah, it's fair. I would think, I don't know how well this was portrayed, but I imagine pretty well. They seem to be fairly even-handed. But
yeah, well, at the meetings as well, they sort of went to the effort to describe different types of asexuals, those who have no romantic interest whatsoever, those that do, and we sort of find out Todd is one that does, and yeah, he meets a cute little asexual axolotl from, what's the asexual equivalent of transsexual Transylvania? I'm an asexual axolotl.
From
what's somewhere starting with A that has no sex?
Adelaide.
Adelaide. Hey, James and Nick. And I was worried at the end of season 3 where we find out BoJack might have a daughter. But yeah, the way they turn that around, I won't get into the spoilers.
They're great as well, yeah.
Yeah, with Hollyhock. God, they all have such weird names. And yeah, she was amazing. And yeah, just back on BoJack's mother, how they dive into her past and do these really artistic episodes about that, and sort of do really good jumps to the past and the present, and really make you empathize with her, because BoJack is ragging on her the whole time, and you know, we've seen in previous episodes, you know, how awful she can be, and I feel like those episodes were so important for humanizing her.
Yeah.
Horsenizing her.
Hermaning.
Yeah. So as far as BoJack seasons go, yeah, I don't think it's the best. It's probably, third or fourth best season in my eyes, but completely solid all around.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
Any other TV?
We could go on about Stranger Things too. I kind of don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to. I'm happy to dive into it. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. That's like as much as I need to say about it.
Yeah, pretty much. I will quickly throw to a YouTube series called Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Okay.
It's very weird and a little bit horror, but it's also like existentialist horror. It's very interesting though, and weird as fuck. Get used to that. I will also say there's a lot of interpretations on it. I do quite like the film theorists have a really interesting one that I think is probably correct.
Yeah, sure.
That it's really about a creator and their creation and what they have to lose to get that made.
Yeah.
Possibly. It's also mildly insane. So it's a little bit... It's like puppets, so a little bit Sesame Street with the occasional trips into existentialist terror.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's about, I think it's 8 episodes of maybe 10 minutes apiece. Definitely, it's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's weird.
And that name again?
Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Don't Hug Me, I'm
Scared. If you
Scared.
think of something like Salad Fingers, similar vein.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll throw a quick bit of a soft recommendation for The Good Place. It's a Michael Shaw sitcom, the guy who did Parks and Rec, Office, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And Kristen Bell, she dies and she goes to heaven, but all along she knows she was meant to go to hell. She's not as good as all these other good people.
Yeah, I've heard of it, and I've heard, again, kind of uncertain things about whether or not it's any good.
Yeah, look, they're halfway into season 2 at the moment, and it feels like it ran out of steam at some point.
Really? Okay.
In season 2, like I feel like the first season was not really good enough, maybe silver on our scale.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's doing something important, which is sort of talking about morals and stuff. And and I'll also throw a quick bit of love to Lady Dynamite, a show again. I'm not sure if I like it or not.
Yeah, I've watched a couple episodes, and it's very. Feels almost improvised. It's hard to...
It's incredibly eccentric, but, you know, that's Maria Bamford's style, and I don't think it could have been any other show with her in it and still been a Maria Bamford show.
Yeah.
But it is produced by Mitch Horowitz as well, and you can tell it's got his sort of stamp on it too. So, yeah, sort of a soft recommendation for that, and... Oh, and also Please Like Me, which is Josh Thomas's show. He's a stand-up comedian from Australia. Yeah, he has this series that revolves around him and his friend being Melbourneites and such.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. Any other
Hey, is that the one we watched with the guy from Triple J? I watched a couple of episodes.
Oh no, that was the other guy. That's his show on the Stan streaming network.
Don't plug that. It wasn't terribly good. So.
No. Well, the other guy, it came good at the end, but it took a long road to get there. And it's also trying to go for the dramedy thing, but I don't feel like it's got the emotional weight to do the drama properly.
That's fair.
Yep. And yeah, just going into stand-up, I think this was an amazing year for stand-up specials, and I love how much Netflix has been investing in comedians. Without going into too much detail, I'll just rattle a bunch of them off. Neil Brennan, 3 mics. He does this concept where he has 3 mics on stage, one for one-liners, one for traditional stand-up, one for heavy emotional stand-up, and it is incredibly put together. I loved that one. Judah Friedlander's America's the Greatest Country in the United States, which we watched together. You liked that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Tracy Morgan had an okay stand-up special. Sarah Silverman, the Lucas Brothers on Drugs was really, really well put together. Reggie Watts had a very eccentric stand-up special that you may like. And if you do have Stan, check out Tom Ballard, Kitty Flanagan, and Sam Simmons specials. I loved Mark Maron's Too Real. Again, Maria Bamford, she had one called Old Baby, which was really interesting, where the show started out just her doing stand-up in the mirror, then it moved to her performing for her partner, then for her performing for a small group of friends, and then it all gets in all up to a big stage stand-up, and yeah, it's just a really interesting concept.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's a bit old now, but Garfunkel and Oates had a stand-up special that only just got to Australian Netflix. Patton Oswalt's Annihilation is the last one I'll mention, and that was so incredible. He does a big bit about how his wife passed away, and it's hauntingly brilliant comedy, like in that moment. Yeah. One I wasn't a fan of, though, was Jerry Seinfeld's show. He sort of did mostly old Seinfeld intermission bits.
Yeah.
And like didn't like change them or update them or anything, and
kind of ran his classics.
Yeah, it was. He did some new material. Yeah, it was like going to see the Eagles or something, and yeah, there's a song from our new album and it's shit, and then he goes back to the classics and you're like, I love. Yeah, that's all I got to say about stand up. Movies. What movies do you want to talk about, Beach?
This year we farewelled my guilty pleasure, Resident Evil.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, the final of that was okay.
Yeah,
so, yeah, but this has been
was the 7th.
Yeah, 7th. Resident Evil, the final chapter. I could go into a very long review. I won't. Just suffice to say that it's not what you want a final chapter to be. It doesn't quite farewell the series the way I wanted, but you know, it's got some good fun in it and some nice action sequences. And I'm just sad to see the end of a long-running thing that I will unashamedly tell people is great. Except it's not. I'm well aware it's not great, but I love it.
Yeah. Is it your love for Mila Jovovich blinding you slightly?
Nah, because I've disliked other movies she's in.
No, fair enough. Is she in all of them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go her. Yeah. I hear they're doing a reboot of it pretty soon, though.
Probably. I mean, they've rebooted the games effectively, which it needed. Holy crap. I like how, over time, people ripped on the original movie for not following the plot of the game closer, and over time, the plot of the games have gotten more and more ridiculous and over the top, and the movies have stayed consistent. So it's like, yeah, you get to, by the time they both got to number 7, you kind of like, Resident Evil Game 6 was apparently just a convoluted pile of ridiculous bullshit. Yeah. Whereas Resident Evil 6 was good.
Yeah.
Logan.
Oh, yeah. That was surprisingly good, too.
Yeah, I think I was watching a thing, and I can't remember what it was, otherwise I would plug it. But it talks about how Logan is effectively actually a Western, not a superhero movie.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, it makes a really interesting comparison about how, you know, the rugged hero rides into town and finds a cause he doesn't quite believe in, but learns to believe in it. And it's like, this is roughly... And there's a lot of references to the Western Shane in the movie, and that's basically them telling you, this is what this is.
Is that the one that they're watching on TV and such?
Yeah, okay. There are no more guns in the valley. So, fantastic send-off for the character. I think it was... Main thing I've heard in its detriment is people talking about how it's too violent, and I get what they're saying, but at the same time, you knew that.
At the same time, I extend my middle adamantium claw, and it's like, come on, this is what we've wanted from X-Men for ages.
Yeah.
It was always such a weird thing to have this guy who's got 6 blades on his knuckles, and he is essentially nerfed the whole time.
Yeah. Whereas this, it goes full. Which, I mean, if you didn't know that, then okay, I can understand the shock. It had an R rating or MA, depending on what country you're in. You knew.
Yeah. And that's sort of what was great about Deadpool's success, is that now it has made way for the R-rated superhero genre, which, I feel like holds a lot of these movies back.
Yeah, I mean, depending what it is, sometimes it doesn't fit in everything. Quickly skipping ahead to our 2018 segment, there's an announcement that Quentin Tarantino is writing a Star Trek movie, and I like Quentin Tarantino and I like Star Trek. I don't want them to mix. I mean, again, I would love to be wrong. But, it is getting an R/M18, depending on what country you're in, rating.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not in the spirit of Star Trek. So, I hope I'm wrong.
Worf, you are a stupid motherfucker.
Say what again, bitch?
Live long and prosper, cunt.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Australian Star Trek. Shall I go explore the galaxy?
Nah, fuck it.
Can't be fucked.
Yeah, pass a tinny, mate.
Fuck it. So just while we're here on the superhero movies, I am a bit of a Marvel fan, but I'm actually realizing now that I don't even like half of them.
That's fair. There's a lot.
That's an exaggeration, but I got to say, this year has been a good enough year for Marvel movies.
I mean, we had Ragnarok. That was good fun.
Ragnarok was incredible.
Yep.
I really rated that. And Taika Waititi as well. Oh my God. Did I give love to Hunt for the Wilder People in the last special? I should have. That is incredible. I think you did,
but do it again. No, because we hadn't flown to America yet. Had we?
Yeah, because we recorded that in March.
Yeah, okay, then you did. But do it again if you like.
Hunt for the Wilder People, man, go see it. Sam Neill, do I need to give you another reason? Taika Waititi, there was another one. You will so cry. Well, you will if you went up and down in a plane. I get very emotional changing altitude. But yeah, we also had Spider-Man Homecoming, which was okay. Yeah. I think I like it less now that I've a few months removed from it.
Yeah, well, we've got the weird thing now. I read this, again, I can't remember where from, this thing talking about how this generation will not have nostalgia because there is no... If you liked something, you can recall it really easily. You can look it up. And not even only that, but things move so rapidly. So, I mean, there's talk about after Infinity War, that'll be the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they're also talking about rebooting. It's like, give it time. Give it 10 years at least to settle and rest in people's memories. They can think about it fondly. You can re-release special editions and shit. And onto that, for Spider-Man, this was, more Marvel bringing him into the cinematic universe and reclaiming the title essentially after Sony dropped the license.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this was, the third Spider-Man movie in the span of 5 years, I want to say. Well,
even just since Spider-Man 1 with, the Tobey Maguire one, this is our 6th Spider-Man movie since, this
since
cinematic.
2001 or 2, yeah.
Yeah. So we've had 6 Spider-Man movies in the last 17 years. Yeah, you're right. So a kid growing up would have only known having a Spider-Man movie every couple of years.
Yeah, and so just give it, I think it's an example of give it time, let us miss it, let us forget the parts we don't want to remember. And I mean, for example, I haven't even finished Amazing Spider-Man 2 because it's just you sit there with your eyebrows up going, why did anyone think any of this was a good idea?
No, it's not even fun garbage.
Yeah, which I feel bad for, what's his face?
Garfield?
Yeah. I think he does a fair enough job. It's not the things that are wrong are not his fault. Ditto Emma Stone.
No, you can just say it's a soulless fucking, keep the movie license movie, which, is sort of the good and bad thing about this potential Fox Disney deal happening at the moment.
Hey fans, so I'm just going to quickly stop the show here to point out that this conversation was recorded, and seriously, only a few hours before the news became official that Disney had bought Fox. I know this fact makes a little of what we say a bit outdated, but I thought I'd leave this conversation in anyway for posterity and because there hasn't been a lot more news between then and now about what this means for a lot of Fox's properties, especially The Simpsons. And because of that, my opinions really haven't changed anyway. The only thing that's different is that we now know that it's official. Disney has bought Fox. So anyway, to infinity and beyond, and back to the show.
Which actually kind of affects what we do, because if that goes through, Disney might get The Simpsons.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And, we know Disney, they're not one to shy away from rebooting things and keeping it in the culture if it makes them money.
Yeah. Can you imagine like a rebooted Simpsons? I'm having a hemorrhage right now.
It'd be our fourth era. We'd have, classic Teens HD and Disney era.
I don't like it.
No,
I'm scared now.
No, but I mean, on the flip side, they'll get Fantastic Four and Deadpool and X-Men. So,
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
but it becomes this thing where, God, do Disney own too much?
They pretty much have a monopoly on entertainment, so yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, also for the Marvel movies, Guardians Galaxy Volume 2. Look, a lot of people adore it. I thought it was great, but definitely not as good as 1. I recommend it. But there's something about it that's not being a classic like the first one was to me.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't either. Sorry. So, any other movies?
Yes, I think it came out in 2006, but I didn't talk about it. Arrival is super good. Go watch it. I will not say too much about it, but it's great.
Amy Adams? Yep, cool.
Amy Adams is probably my favorite actress currently working. She's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a bit of a horror fan and also a fan of Sam Raimi, and specifically the Evil Dead reboot, the director of that has gone out and made a movie called Don't Breathe. It's pretty damn good. Very, very tense. I would call it horror technically. It's more of it just holds tension a lot.
Yep.
There's a twist, and then after that twist comes another twist, and that second one probably shouldn't be there because it's just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But it is still quite a good movie. I don't think enough people saw. It Follows. Watch that. That's good.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of recommendations about that. For the longest time, I thought it was an It sequel.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah. Also, It was pretty good.
Yeah, you enjoyed that?
Yeah. Curious to see how they do the second one. It did, again, without getting real, I could go into it for a long time. I won't. Few weird missteps. I don't quite know why they did, but still good.
Yep, and Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things was in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
God, that's a fucking awesome name.
Finn it is.
Finn Wolfhard. Another movie that I'll mention is Get Out.
I was about to say, I was leading up to that.
Fucking incredible, man.
Very, very interesting, complex movie.
Yeah.
That I do also have a little bit of issue with. Specifically, just the final, essentially the final parts, which I won't go into spoilers for.
Yeah, because it's a movie that's also difficult to explain without spoiling it.
Yeah, and it's worth the ride though. Check it out. I would happily discuss it at length.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I did when it first came out on Blu-ray, I saved the date and everything so I could go out, get it, and watch it with commentary. And it's incredible. It's one of the best director's commentary I ever seen. If they have an Oscars for director's comm, absolutely check out the Get Out one, because I thought I was pretty savvy and picked up on a lot of stuff, but he has so much hidden symbolism everywhere.
Yeah, and the fact this is his first time directing is stunning.
Stunning.
Yeah, like I thought, oh no, surely he's directed some episodes of Key and Peele, and if he did, he's not accredited to them. So I don't know where he picked up directing or if he's studied it previously, but that would be my number one question is like, where did the direction for this come from, and what did you study it all? Did you pick it up from just being on set a lot? I'm very curious.
No, you killed it.
Last thing I want to mention is Baby Driver.
Baby Driver. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Biggest criticism I get on this one is that it is a bit slow. I don't want to call it slow. It's just very purposeful in its first act.
Yeah.
Like it's building something very specifically. And I guess, I think it only feels slow because you're not quite sure where you're going.
Yeah.
If you had a bit more of a direction of what was going to happen next, it wouldn't feel quite, maybe, I don't know. I haven't watched it since seeing it in the cinemas, but I genuinely think Edgar Wright is probably the best director working out there at the moment.
Oh, definitely.
Or one of, absolutely.
And this is one where, I mean, because I love movies and everything, but I'm not much of a movie guy. And this is one where I just, all the movies that came before, okay, I've got to see this in the theater. And having done that, I think it's the best way to experience it. Like, because I don't think it's just a loving tribute to cars or music, heist movies and all that. I think it is a loving tribute to being at a cinema with people and
being part of that collective culture, effectively.
And especially if you see it with people and you're only seeing it for the first time, like we were reaching across the seats, wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like how they synced the car chases and the gunfights to the music is amazing.
Yeah, and just the effort required for that. Again, it's full of detail, like Edgar Wright's other stuff. And really, again, I got to start writing this down. I think it's Cinefix I'm getting most of this from.
Yeah.
But Cinefix potentially has a really interesting video about the costuming in it and what various characters wear and their colors and how they relate to the story and it's interesting. It's a good little watch.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I will say on the lighting, I did notice that they'd really use soft tones when they were in the cafe with Baby and his girlfriend, and then when the criminals were in the cafe, like, they used a bit different, like, yeah, it was really good. And yeah, just on the soundtrack as well, it did something that I really loved about Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which was using sort of semi-popular, but also kind of obscure songs, not going with ones that are already sort of really popular in society.
Yeah, basically the opposite of Suicide Squad's soundtrack.
Oh my God.
You haven't hate watched that yet, have you?
I think I've seen the first half an hour. I definitely saw when Suicide Squad spoilers. Does anyone give a shit? I saw where Batman sort of like is on the car and then they drive off the cliff.
That was in the trailer. That's not.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One of the 14 that came out.
Yeah, I remember seeing up to that, and I remember like 5 title cards as well.
Yeah. This time I remember where it's from. Watched a video by a channel called Folding Ideas about the editing. I don't really know much about film editing, but it was really interesting kind of look at the things it did wrong and why they're wrong and how editing is supposed to drag your eyes around the screen. And it was really interesting. I thought it was. So check that out. Folding Ideas. I think it's just called Suicide Squad Fail Editing or something like that.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Well, just to touch on it briefly as well, and I haven't seen Justice League yet, and to be quite honest, it was because it had average reviews that put me off.
We would have gone to a train wreck.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If this was getting the same sort of shade that people were throwing on Batman v Superman, I would have been all about that, because Batman v Superman was almost like a challenge, you know? Get through this 3-hour slog.
Yeah, I remember the exact moment I lost it forever.
Which was that?
When the Flash teleports through time, but also maybe it's a dream, but also did Batman just have a vision, but did he have a dream? And what the hell just happened and why? Yeah, and then I was just like, no, no.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to even have a hate watch of that movie because it is so long and painful the whole way. Like, when I went out for a pee break when, like, Superman lands in snow or something, and I came back and I'm like, so what happened? Did I miss anything? You're like, oh, there's some fucking thing with his dad. I don't know. And I'm like, of course there was. Wait, isn't his dad dead?
Yeah.
It was probably a dream set. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because of that, it's just, it was hard to get the motivation to go see Suicide Squad. Wonder Woman was okay.
Yeah, no, it was good enough.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was like, okay, finally, tonally, I'm enjoying this. Gal Gadot lands the shit out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't like Chris Pine. I never have.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Controversial. Even as Kirk, I thought he did a good Kirk.
He does an okay Kirk. But mostly because the second one of that is aggressively terrible.
Yeah.
Into Darkness sucks. Third one's pretty good, but I don't think it was enough to save the series.
It felt like such a plain movie to me.
He is probably the best I've seen Chris Pine in is Hell or High Water, but it's also, I don't think that's a good movie. I can't believe that even got Oscar nods because it wasn't that good.
Yeah. He was one of the best parts of Horrible Bosses Part 2.
I didn't see that, so...
It's surprisingly solid.
Okay. Seeing as, for a premise I would not have thought worked a second time, let alone a first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Oh, decent.
Last knife I want to throw is at Alien Covenant. Just you disappointing pile of disappointment. Its best thing you can say about it is it makes Prometheus make more sense. It's like, I didn't want that.
But yeah, Prometheus was a movie that I think a lot of Alien fans would have happily just written off.
Yeah, and now we can't.
And now it's just like, no, it's part of the canon.
God damn.
See, this is how we attach the canon to this.
Yeah, I'll attach a canon to you.
Do you think the Alien franchise has any hope now, or has it gone the way of the Terminator?
God, the Terminator was hard to lose. Yeah, it needs a very, very different direction.
That's another property that Disney would get. Alien, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I'd be interested in that because at least they need it like a series. They need to head to someone else. They need someone else doing it. I didn't play it, but Alien Isolation is apparently very good and really gets the kind of tone. And yeah, it's proof there is stories to be had in this universe. Just stop giving the Ridley Scott, surprisingly.
Yeah.
He's a gorgeous visual director, but does not understand story somehow, despite crafting some very good movies.
Yeah, it's surprising, and, it happened to George Lucas as well. And
well, the running theory is Lucas never knew what he was doing. He's had the right people around him to sculpt what he made into something great.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, deviating from film is the Marvel Netflix show, and I'm just going to try and be brief with this. Look, I didn't watch Iron Fist. It's just the bad reviews, and then the character didn't really appeal to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't seen Defenders yet, have you?
Nope, we didn't see Iron Fist, Defenders. Only got halfway through Luke Cage. I was about to say that's wrong. We only got halfway through Luke Cage.
I'd say that was wise.
Yeah, I just think coming off the high of Jessica Jones, which was phenomenal, the rest just doesn't either be more fun or try to match that level of drama. And I guess those were not doing either of those.
Yeah, I think Luke Cage was great because it was at least stylistically different, and I think they were going for a lot of like meta commentary on the like African American experience, and I think it did that stuff well. It's just when they dropped the first villain for the second one, who was the whole Bible quotey routine, it started feeling a bit hammy from that point.
Yeah, I think it kind of lost me where, mild spoilers because I made it halfway through, the villain blows up a building with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't care if you're like, oh, no one cares about Harlem. That was a military-grade weapon in a post-9/11 New York.
Yeah.
They would be all over it. Although I do have the prevailing question, did 9/11 happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah. Or was the Chitauri incident there 9/11?
Well, that was the best thing about Iron Man 3, is that it was effectively their version of that. So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, I was just like, there is no way you use military hardware to blow up a shop and there is not like 6 agencies looking in on that shit.
Yeah, well, if you hated that, then the Defenders, because like, unfortunately, you know, neither of us watched Iron Fist. We can't defend it either way other than I read a bunch of shitty reviews. But the Defenders, yeah, I watched from start to finish, and my big problem with that was the thing that I loved about Daredevil and Jessica Jones is, there's the people that have abilities that are outside the norm, but they're telling street-level stories.
Yeah, they're telling very realistically based stories with just the abilities.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about most of Luke Cage as well, and sort of Iron Fist fucks that up by being a supernatural thing, and that he gets his energy from, you know, praying to the supernatural gods of the blah, 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 blah. And there's this whole sacred order which Madame Gao turns out to be a part of, whereas before she was just this...
a crime boss, basically.
Yeah. And yeah, haunting, ominous figure that how could this little old, you know, Chinese lady, and holy shit, she just beat the fuck out of that guy, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah, of course.
And yeah, in this one, yeah, she commands a superpowered army and shit like that, and they just really lost the street level stuff and just delved into the supernatural. It's what I did not like about Daredevil the second half of season 2 either.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Daredevil 2 was, all the Punisher stuff was great, all the Elektra stuff was garbage.
Yeah. So I still haven't checked out Punisher yet. I'm still feeling
a little disenfranchised by it. Yeah, I'm on the same page.
Yeah. It's not like there weren't good moments in Defenders, but they took like 4 episodes to get them all together. And then they had a really good bottle episode, and then everything after that was just trash. It really made me angry that they didn't spend more time with the Defenders as the 4 of them, because a lot of it was just, it felt like cutting between the Daredevil show, the Iron Fist show.
You put them together for a reason, idiots.
Yeah, I think it's like in the first episode, they don't even meet each other. Wait, we just sort of catch... Anyway, I really could go on. And finally, let's talk about some video games of the year.
Yep, so I know we're going to mention 2 of the same, so we'll move. I'm going to backtrack quickly because I did not mention them previously, even though they came out in 2016. Inside, definitely give that a shot if you're a fan of Limbo. This is like a more refined Limbo that is... really interesting story hidden in the background. A kind of a finale you were not going to see coming. And yeah, worth checking out. Also, the hidden surprises here actually do affect the ending. You will almost certainly need to look up a guide because it's absurd. Not Braid levels of absurd, but still absurd. Doom from 2016 is getting, first of all, great game, but I've recently really gotten into the soundtrack, and especially how that soundtrack was made.
Yeah.
Composer Mick Gordon, there's a very interesting lecture he does at GDC, worth checking out if you're interested in music production. And he just talks about the creative process as well, and just some ideas floating around in that. I thought was a really good lecture, about an hour, worth checking out. Doom 2016 was also thoroughly great.
No, I'm definitely going to be picking it up on the Switch. And
yeah, just enjoy the simplicity of, but also that kind of thing where you have to think about what you're doing, but it's also just run and gun fun.
Yeah, because I think that'd be a good game for a handheld. Yeah. Well, another old game that I'll just throw some love to is Binding of Isaac. I think it's like 3-4 years old now at this point.
It's pretty, depending on which version you're going from. I was late to the show, and I still was playing that maybe 4 years ago.
Wow.
The original. It's, when you say Binding of Isaac, you mean a lot of different things, because there's the original and there's...
I'm playing Afterbirth for the Switch.
Yeah, so then there was Rebirth and then Afterbirth, and then,
That's my sort of problem. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so sometimes I only play video games on Nintendo consoles.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I really loved that, and I found it was really fun to play in a group. Take a room each.
Yeah.
So ton of fun. It's a little expensive on the Switch at the moment, so I'd actually recommend going and finding a cheaper version, which you can definitely do. Yeah, definitely.
But again, the idea of having it handheld has tempted me, and I've played the fuck out of that game.
Yeah.
So
no, it's great, and because it can be as long as or little as you want, and dropping in and out, sort of. Yeah, it feels good with that game.
Biggest advancement on the Switch version, I think, is the ability to save, which you couldn't do in the previous. You were in it for however long you were in. Anyway, I'm going to throw some love to Little Nightmares. Again, very similar to Inside and Limbo. I keep forgetting the name of that one. The controls are not as tight as Inside is, which is a bit frustrating from time to time. But visual style, if you like games that have unique visuals, this is like what Tim Burton's Nightmares might look like.
Oh, wow.
It's really distinct. You are this tiny little rain-coated kid on this ship full of these grotesque, monstrous human beings.
Yep.
Really interesting visuals if you play games with visuals, and stories that are told through the background details and through action rather than words. There's not a single word spoken.
Yep.
Very interesting, very worth checking out.
Interesting.
Yep.
And I'll throw some love to just the Nintendo Switch as a whole, which was, I'm just so glad to see that console doing so well, because it was hard being a Wii U owner, I won't lie.
Yep.
I saw a good joke, which was, thank you all for the Wii U owners, aka beta Switch players.
Effectively.
But there have been some excellent games coming out for it already. I want to throw some particular love to Snipperclips, which, if you are just getting a console for Christmas or something, this is a really good game to play with a big group of people, because it's sort of a two-player puzzle game, and you need to coordinate and cooperate to work together. But it's also hilariously fun, being bad at it, because it's a little bit clumsy the way it controls.
Yeah. But it's not to its detriment. Like, you can't... If you screw it up, you can just reset very quickly.
Yeah. But you do need to cooperate, because you're two little shapes and you need the other player to cut you out and change your shape. So you do need to stay still for each other. And
it's a wonderfully simple concept that gets complex.
Yeah.
And that's always good.
Yeah. And ARMS is an interesting one. It's sort of like a hybrid fighting shooter game, which I dropped off with really quickly, but I think it's a bit more fun in a multiplayer setting. Yep. Over to you.
I'm going to give a lot of praise to Prey.
I
was surprised it came out this year, because it really did not make the splash anyone expected to.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason was that is it was apparently originally very broken and very buggy.
Oh, wow.
I know there's a bit of a famous thing where the review copy IGN got just crashed and deleted saves, and then Bethesda sent them a new save so they could finish the review, and that crashed and deleted. So they ended up giving it a 4 out of 10, because even though they were enjoying it, they just couldn't finish it, literally couldn't finish it.
Wow.
So I don't know how rampant that was, but it feels like a spiritual successor to System Shock or Bioshock. Bioshock is one of my all-time favorite games. This feels like a successor to it. Also has a sneaky moral choice system where it doesn't say, which do you want to choose, the red evil option or the blue good option, which is my biggest criticism of Bioshock. It's when you're doing good or bad. This is more, so the setting is you're on a space station where they've been doing experiments with creatures that can morph into anything. So you walk into a room, you're like, okay, there are too many chairs at that table. I'm going to shoot one thinking it's a mimic. Okay, it's not. Well, oh, shit! Which is great for its sense of tension.
And it's a really isolated experience being in space as well.
Yeah, the two key elements of any horror story are isolation and disempowerment, and this has those in spades. I really like the isolation feel, because especially there are parts where you go outside the ship and you feel very distant from everything. It's a very isolating feeling. The first time you meet a friendly NPC, you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, yeah. So it's moral choices. So a small example, which gives nothing away. You, in one of the missions, you find out there's a shuttle that left 2 hours before the outbreak started. There's a fair chance that no one on that ship is infected, but you have the option of destroying that shuttle before it reaches Earth. And you're like, there's no clear, this is the right option, this is the wrong option, or, like you get in something like Mass Effect or
Yeah.
even in Bioshock. Love it as much as I do. And so it's just, what do you morally think is right? And so
Yeah.
you have the choice of, and I like that. Haven't finished it because a certain, Odyssey came out before I got to complete it.
Yeah.
But I'm very close to the ending. I literally had to spend a couple of days thinking about what path do I want to take towards the ending in this game.
Wow.
So, check out Prey if you are a fan of Bioshock, especially.
No, because that's cool, because I haven't played Bioshock or the other game you mentioned, but I played the Infamous games on PlayStation, which have the similar moral blue good, red bad.
Yeah.
And the thing I hate about that is that the bad is clearly the better choice, and there is no consequences for you going the bad route.
Yeah, because the story has to continue anyway. And,
And it is actually extremely difficult to be good in that game because of how easily you can kill so many people. So, which, I mean, I don't mind, because they're my favorite sort of games, third-person action sort of ones where you level up your character and you get overpowered, because I go through and pick up every little collectible you can. But yeah, that sort of made that game shitty, where the moral consequence was just be bad and it doesn't really matter anyway.
The moral consequence is you get a different ending, and it's okay. Whereas in this...
And a cooler hairdo.
Yeah, whereas in this, it's kind of interwoven. It's more, it's literal a moral question. There's no definitely right or wrong answer. There's no, but if you do this, you'll get a cooler gun. But if you do this, you'll save the passengers. It's like, well, I know which is morally wrong then, but I want the gun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit more. I like how free that is. There are so many side quests. I couldn't even do them all.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, you can pick them up if you feel like it.
Awesome.
Few issues I do have that I won't spoil, but yeah, I highly recommend checking out Prey.
All right. And yeah, Splatoon came out, so I'm right back into playing Splatoon 2 rather.
It's the same thing.
I had a brief break from it while I was playing lots of Overwatch and Rocket League, and I'm back into Rocket League a little bit again now that it's on Switch. I like that idea that I can just drop in for a quick 10-minute game and get out, but I do feel like it's sort of... everyone who's playing it is so good at the moment that it is kind of hard to drop into random games.
Fair.
So anyway, I wanted to throw some love to those guys before move on to the two big ones. Did you have any other ones you wanted to mention?
No, that was everything.
So the two big ones I wanted to talk about, let's start with Mario Odyssey. It only came out like a month or so ago, but already done, I think my count's at like 650 moons or something.
Yeah, I'm on 680, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... just a goddamn joyful game to play.
Yeah, so delightful, so inventive. It gets around this thing that I think the Mario series was a problem that they were having, which was the power-up started feeling a bit boring.
Oh, yeah.
That, every game had a fire flower, every game has an invincibility star and sort of stuff like that. And when Galaxy introduced a bunch of different hats and costumes and stuff...
it was the first kind of step to really changing up what you could do in a level.
Absolutely. And then sort of that was kind of one of the bad things about the 3D World games, which were essentially just doing the same power-ups that were in the 2D games.
Except the cat suit, and everyone was like, I don't really want to be a cat.
I liked the cat suit. That led to some really cool platforming stuff.
Which it did, to its credit.
Yeah.
My big problem with the Super Mario 3D World Land Ultra Wii U editions were it had co-op, but you could jump on each other and knock each other off.
Yeah.
And then you had live, so it was just so annoying to play co-op, and that was the big selling point to me. It's like, co-op Mario, sweet.
Yeah, and the fact that the run button was the same as the pick-up player button was such a fucking misstep.
Yeah, I mean, for an example of that being done well was Rayman Legends. That was great fun to play multiplayer, but I was just completely uninterested in all the new Super Mario Wii U Land World Brothers.
And so the thing that Mario Odyssey did well about the whole power-ups thing was it replaced it with this possession mechanic, which, holy fuck, from the first moment when you possess that little frog... and then you jump super high and you're like, whoa!
Yeah, I think Video Game Donkey puts it best in that it's not great because you can possess things, it's great because when you possess something new, it opens up the world in entirely new ways.
Absolutely.
And I think that's...
Yeah, this is like the most liberated Mario has ever been.
Mm-hmm. As the song of the year, Jump Up Superstar says, it's freedom like you never knew. And if that doesn't win a Grammy, fuck you, Grammys.
I wonder if you can vote for it in the Triple J's Hottest 100.
I'm going to, whether I'm allowed to or not, because if it doesn't win Triple J's Hottest 100, fuck you, Triple J, Hottest 100.
Yeah, well, they've got such a weird barrier for entry. Like, you're not allowed to vote Taylor Swift, but you're allowed to vote Kanye. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess they have to have played it, but,
yeah.
I suppose. But that they should be playing it, and if they aren't, fuck you.
Yeah, but it's like they never... Oh, fuck, I could go on. Anyway, but yeah, Mario Odyssey, man. The game is constantly being new and surprising.
Yeah, which is possibly something to its detriment, and you never fully get to explore an idea the way you think you do.
Yeah.
But even then, it never gets dull, and there's always something new to do and new to explore. And when you finish the main game, it just repopulates with a bunch of new challenges and new things to find, and that is just freaking great.
Yeah, and like, because it didn't grab me instantly either. Like, it actually took me a few worlds to get into it. Because
I think we were both like, "Are you playing? Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm having fun." And then
I think mostly just because it was the first few hours are really easy, actually.
To be fair, the entire game is fairly easy.
Yeah.
Mostly due to something I think that needed to do, which was getting rid of the live system. So now when you die, you just lose 10 coins. But that means you're not afraid to experiment or explore, or you're not playing it safe because you don't have to. You can just go for it. So yes, it makes things easier, but I think that makes it better.
Yeah. It weirdly does take away a lot of the fear, because even sort of the live system had sort of just...
It was just there because it had always been there. It becomes so unnecessary over time.
Yeah, and if you run out of lives, you have to start out the level again. You can't go back to the check marks. Whereas this one, because it is going for a bit more of an open world vibe, I hesitate to call it an open world game like so many people have, because there are definite levels and the sandboxes aren't that huge.
No, but it's a big jungle gym each time you go into each new area.
But yeah, every time I felt my love for it waning, it'd just do something incredibly delightful that, just amazed me. And yeah, New Donk City as a whole is just an incredible...
Yep, and the climax of that,
Yeah, that's one I definitely do not want to spoil. But
most definitely not.
Yeah, you can sort of see where they cut corners, especially like in the Luncheon Kingdom. That like is such an empty level to me.
Yeah, it is. But there's still fun, interesting things to be had there. I love being that little fire thing.
Oh, yeah.
just swimming around, just being fire.
Yeah, that turned into one of the more frustrating boss fights, because where you're the fire and you have to jump between the little puddles that it's
Although weirdly, I played the rematch on that, and I kicked its ass first go.
Oh, really?
I'm like, wait, was it just kind of broken the first time?
Oh wow, I was loading up on my 6-up hearts for that one.
I had just a gorgeous win streak. I just did all the rematches in about one sitting.
Oh wow, because I'm using it to sort of break up my thorough playthrough now.
Yeah,
like they become the boss fights when I finish all the stars and moons in a level. Still doing that. No,
I just kind of went back and like, I'll try this other one. I'm feeling like I probably got it. Like, okay, cool. I'll move on to the next one. I just floored them all. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I am champion of all.
Wahoo, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So because there are so many stars in this game, there are a few that are...
moons.
Fuck, I did it again. Yeah, because there are so many moons, there are some where you just sort of ground pound the ground and one appears, or... The thing with Toadette, which I won't spoil, but when you get to it, you know what I mean. It's just
lots of pressing A.
Yeah. Because of the disparate value of the moons, I find that, it's sometimes not as satisfying, but when you get a hard-fought moon.
Yeah.
So, that is like a big recommendation. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me. It's like a 9. It would be a gold probably on...
I 9.6.
9.6?
So, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it comes close to greatness, but I think actually a lot of the limitations are actually probably inherent to the system, really.
Yeah, there was a little bit of hop-in, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah. But
a bit of a problem with draw distance.
Yeah, but even some levels like the snow one or the lake one, which were sort of a bit boring, there were ones like Bowser's Castle.
Which is just gorgeously designed.
Yeah, and I loved the desert, the sort of the Day of the Dead characters in the desert and all that. That was probably my favorite boss fight.
That one was, yeah.
Which is the boss, which I don't remember his name because I just call him Quit Hitting Yourself.
Floating head that you possess his fist and then punch him in the face.
Yes, that's right. You possess an old stone face's hand and then you punch him with it.
And his face is like, oh, you're like, stop hitting yourself. Smack.
So delightful. Yeah. But yeah, which we'll move on to what will be definitely my game of the year, possibly decade, probably of all time.
Whoa.
Zelda Breath of the Wild. Holy fuck.
Yeah, super good. I mean,
I lost March.
long-time listeners will recount me calling us breath heads, and I maintain that statement. No one else seems to have picked it up, just me.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, because I've loved the Zelda games over times, but there's some of them which, because I'm not a big RPG fan, I just don't have the patience for. Like Twilight Princess, I never finished. I tried twice and
Oh, really?
just couldn't. I don't know.
So, to be fair, I finished it. I don't hold a lot of fond memory to it. When people are like, oh, it's my favorite, I'm like, I kind of feel like I need to revisit it.
Yeah.
I got really tired of the waggle control. I didn't like doing that. I think that was to its detriment.
Which is what I think, as much as I liked Skyward Sword at the time, I think that'd be the hard thing about revisiting it.
Yeah, well, Skyward Sword is my least liked Zelda, I think.
Ooh.
Despite having some of the best boss fights, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the open world is just very... I mean, I'm not going to launch into it. That's going to be an entire... that's a long discussion.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, and I think for me, where maybe even at the time I was just in the mood for a more linear game, like, it is probably the most linear Zelda.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't know. Again, I don't remember it.
You're definitely having your hand held the entire time. And yeah, for such a big world, it was really empty, which is contrast to this, where it is sort of a big empty world. You sort of have to do a bit of traveling to find things, but...
I found myself quite enjoying those little moments of quiet where you just kind of listen to the soundtrack and you'll just explore a little bit.
And yeah, it's one of the most effective uses of minimalist soundtrack ever.
Yeah, I really agree.
Where they'd use like little music cues to give you hints about things, and yeah, in those softer moments where it's just a single solo piano tinkling at the keys, and then which would make those boss fights feel so much more tense.
Yeah, and everything was big. I think I only really have two main complaints about it: draw distance and pop in of enemies.
Yep.
Which I think is a shame because you can scout out locations from quite a range, but then you literally can't see the enemies until you're quite close. That's a shame because, yeah, I like the idea of being able to scope and figure out a plan from a distance.
Yeah.
Which is a shame for that, and I think some of the boss fights just weren't terribly memorable.
Yeah, I will agree. All the different Ganons at the end, especially because of the Divine Beast, they were sort of this game's temples.
Yeah.
But they were sort of more puzzle rooms where the room itself was a puzzle.
Yeah, and I quite like that. I do appreciate people who say they didn't like it, the fact that it didn't feel like a normal temple.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that, but there are so many shrines around that you can get your fix that I appreciate it from a design perspective. They've gone for something different.
Yeah, that's sort of what made those boss fights feel a bit of a shame after these puzzles, because I didn't feel like any of the boss fights were that clever. And and my favorite part about the actual boss fight was the ones where you'd sort of have to be like shield surfing to catch up to him and things. Like,
I never did that.
yeah, you're like dragging on the back of a seal and you have to arrow him. And
Let's get on to the Divine Beast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, I can't remember.
Yeah, and I think you do one in water as well. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been since March, and yeah, March was just a blur of Zelda. I didn't do much else that month.
Yeah, it was delightful.
Yeah. And so, yeah, recently they've released the second DLC pack, which I'm almost halfway through at the moment, and I'm fucking loving it. It's sort of 4 new Divine Beast challenges. It's actually kind of amazing. You do this sort of 4-part challenge to begin with, which then opens up a 4-part challenge for each Divine Beast.
Okay.
Which goes back to a boss fight, and you're given sort of, it's much like Mario's rematch levels, except you're giving a lot less to work with, because that's one of the things, once I had enough bomb arrows and stuff, I could just, go
arrow the shit out of everything.
Go up to Thunderblight Ganon and go, hey, what's up, This one you have to sort of think a bit more, which I like about the boss fights here, but yeah, the shrines and challenges, man, it's just making me fall in love with the game all over again.
Nice.
Yeah, it's sort of good having the Hero's Path mode now, which showed you where you've been already. Yeah, I'm doing these Divine Beast challenges, but I'm sort of looking at the map, plotting out a route of spots that, my Hero's Path didn't showed that I hadn't been yet.
Yeah. And
already I've opened up like 2-3 new side quests that, I never even saw. Like, which just is testament to how big this game is.
And just how big it feels, and the fact that we had very different experiences playing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will say, cut it because I don't feel like explaining Breath of the Wild right now, but during my Breath of the Wild I found an entire field that I'd never been to in my main game, and I thought it'd been everywhere. Shit.
Yeah. It can be amazing like that, and all the stories you'd get, and all the videos of people experimenting with stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones that blew me away recently was the
Boomerang.
boomerang. Throws the boomerang, use magnesis, hold it there, and fucking it's just spinning little death trap.
I was like, and you saw that, and like, of course you can do that. Duh.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it took a long time for anyone to find that.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a really interesting documentary with all the producers and directors of the game and such. I recommend seeking it out. It's on Nintendo's main site. It's a 3-part YouTube series. It's a little hard to watch because it's all in Japanese and it's subtitled, but one concept that they explained that they were going for with this game was chemistry of actions that the player can make, where two different actions can lead to different consequences. Unlike other games where, like even Mario, where he's got the fire up power up, now he can shoot fire. Whereas this one, it's like you get magnesis and you get a weapon, and then how can I combine these things? But anyway, it just encourages the player to experiment where there's not just one way to defeat a horde of enemies. You don't just go in with your sword. You can go, oh, hang on, there's a silver box over there. I could probably lift that up with magnets and then drop that down on him. And yeah, the
fact you didn't even need to pick up the Master Sword in this one if you didn't feel like it. Is
And I feel like in that respect, it's got potential to be appealing to pretty much every gamer, even ones that don't really like this sort of fantasy elfland.
I was very skeptical going into hearing that Zelda was going to be open world.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it didn't take long for me to just be like, hooked forever.
Yeah. Well, especially the no temples thing had me worried because for all my criticisms of Twilight Princess, some of my favorite temples are in that game. Yeah, so Breath of the Wild, go get a Switch for Christmas for yourself.
You've earned it.
Yeah, it's been a hard year, everybody.
Yeah.
That's all the video game. Oh, and I'll throw a little bit of love to South Park Fractured Butthole. I feel like it was as good a stick of truth that sort of improved on the systems and it sort of felt a bit more intelligent, but I think it had the difficult task of making a game that people who don't play a lot of video games could enjoy as well. So it was a bit easy. And the class system actually pissed me off the way it sort of gives you one class to choose at the start and then gives you another one and then gives you another one and then gives you all of them.
Oh, really? Okay, so you just switch between.
Yeah, which sucks because I think that sort of ruins the incentive for a second playthrough.
Yeah.
But I had a real fun time playing that. Yeah, that's all my video game.
Last thing I'm going to give a plug to is in these troubling times, listeners, it's an Instagram account called Tanks Good News. Tanks is in, the battle thing. It's a guy who posts good news going on in the world. And it's like, I quite appreciate that when I'm checking out my Instagram feed in the morning. So
that's good.
Yeah, check that out. It's nice. I have no idea who this guy is. Presumably his name is Tank. That's a weird name. Hey, Tank.
And thank you, Tank. Yeah, that's good because I got to say, in this episode where politics and real world news is going to shit, there's been some of the best entertainment that has ever existed, and it's good.
Yep, it's distracting us, which is what we need sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, just so long as we've quickly touched upon politics,
I'm
going to dive into that. I have a prediction of an exact, not word for word, prediction of an exact tweet Trump will make because he keeps taking credit for the economy. And ask any economist and they'll say he really doesn't. He gets to claim a bit of Wall Street, but that's about it. So economies being economies go up and down all the time. So in some point in 2018, the economy is going to go down. It probably technically won't be his fault, but Trump will make, this is my exact prediction, Trump will quote in a tweet, Trump will quote a Fox News on why the economic downturn isn't his fault. I guarantee you this is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people who sort of follow Trump and follow Fox News at the same time know it's indisputable that whenever they do a story that he gets mad about, he'll be on Twitter and you can point the timeline to the exact time where, oh, look what Fox News just covered while he was, on another Twitter storm.
But yeah, it doesn't matter if you love him or hate him, this is going to happen.
All right, let's do some predictions for 2018 after this break. And we are back. And we've gone through the index, we've gone through the past year. Now we're going to look towards 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And what you got for us, man? What are you looking forward to?
I think Jurassic Park 2 is going to suck.
Really?
Oh, just so much. Not even based on previous performance.
Jurassic World, the comedy of 2015, comedy of the year.
Just even watching the trailer, I'm like, there are so many red flags already.
I actually still haven't watched the trailer yet.
Ah, man, there's a whole bunch about things about, oh, the world's going to end if we don't contain this. Like, how? Are dinosaurs going to carry each other off the island? That's not going to work. Biggest red flag for even someone who liked liked Jurassic World, big red flag should be that your two leads, I forget their name,
White and Bread,
have clearly split up between the end of the previous movie and the start of this one.
Yep.
So they're going to fall in love again, and we're going to retread the same ground again. That should be your first clue this is going to not work. There's my prediction. Lock that in.
Yeah, which is a shame because I'm kind of interested by the whole, it being an actual world now, because one of the misleading things about Jurassic World is it still just takes place on an island.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of hints that it's going to be happening in multiple locations, like competing parks and stuff.
I mean, we'll wait and see. I'd like to be wrong. I won't be.
Yeah, I don't expect to be wrong either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what else are you looking forward to?
New Mutants, actually.
Yeah, I've heard a bit of good hype around that.
Yeah, it's interesting that Marvel are effectively going into maybe it's Fox, I'm not even sure. Whatever.
Yeah, it's
going
Fox.
into a horror movie effectively for the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really good to see in this oversaturation of superhero movies some diversification in genre.
Yeah.
And as we talked about before, how Logan is by technicality a Western. The idea of taking this into a horror movie the trailer looks cool. The idea is really interesting. I'm very pumped to check that one out.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's what those superhero movies need now is innovation, because like I've talked about the second that Every Frame of Painting episode came out where they talked about the lack of distinct music in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's all I sort of started thinking about. And then how these movies are actually kind of stylistically bland.
Yeah.
That's why Thor Ragnarok sticks out, because it's got great music, it's very colourful, it's very distinct.
Yep.
And yeah, that's where New Mutant sticks out to me as well. And Legion as well, I've heard good things around that too.
Mm-hmm.
I do hope, because I don't really want to see superhero movies totally go away, because...
No, I don't think they'll totally go away, but I definitely want to stop the massives. I want them to not be the biggest thing in the world for a while.
Yeah, I think that's it. Part of the peak saturation here is just that there's a fucking blockbuster every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Not even. Like...
Yeah, and they're a little paint by numbers, and we're a little bit tired. Even the good ones are a little bit tired. So
yeah.
Like,
I'm really looking forward to Black Panther as well, because I feel like that's going to tell a different superhero story.
Yeah, at least in the trailer, it looks like similar ground but told in a different way. So that alone is enough to get people excited, and that should tell you a lot.
Absolutely. And I mean, despite all that, though, I got to say I was really impressed with the Infinity War trailer.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm also good with the idea that Infinity War 2, Part 2, will be the end of the current universe. As I said earlier, I really want there to be some time between the end of this and the reboot.
Yeah.
10 years would be nice, if not longer.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
No. Like, all the rumblings that I've heard is that, Phase 5, which happens after Infinity War 2, is going to be a soft reboot of the universe. And... look, this is all speculation that I'm just commenting on, other people's speculation, but there is talks that there is a current female Iron Man that is sort of like a protege of Tony Stark, where I think that could actually be a good movie. Yeah,
passing it generationally down would be a way to keep what you've built so far, but also have new stories to tell. That would work. I'd be okay on board with that.
And have RDJ sort of, do his pop-in cameo appearances. He doesn't need to do the action shit anymore. I don't know how much of it he did anyway, because his character's got a
always
mask.
that question. Yeah, I think it's just him in a dark room turning his head a bunch.
Yeah.
Talking to Jarvis.
So there's the Marvel movies to look forward to. And we done with that? Is there any other Marvel movies that are coming out?
I'm done with that. Yeah. Annihilation looks pretty cool. That's coming out. That's from Alex Garland, who is the guy who wrote 28 Days Later, Sunshine, The Beach. What was his more recent? Ex Machina. I'm pretty sure it's in. Let me double check that is the guy I'm thinking of before
Fuck, Ex Machina has been on my list of movies forever. It sounds so appealing to me.
It may have been overhyped for me.
Yeah?
So, yeah. It's more of a think piece than anything terribly in-depth, I suppose, is the difference. But in terms of think pieces, it's pretty good. Performances are really good. And, worth checking out. Just, keep your expectations to a character study.
Yeah.
No, I'm accurate on who Alex Garland is. That's good. I feel good about that.
That's good.
He's a good writer who's, put some good stuff into Hollywood, some nice, interesting scripts. The trailer for this looks really interesting and really weird. Check it out. And yeah, I'm pumped to check that one out. It's got Natalie Portman in as well, sure.
Annihilation, cool. And Natalie Portman. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, just briefly going back to video games and what we're looking forward to. I don't actually have a specific video game that I'm looking forward to, but Nintendo Switch, they sort of did their two big franchises in the first year. Does make me wonder what's coming next year.
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. What do you reckon? Do you think they're going to just redo the Wii U 3DS thing, or they're going to do a new one entirely?
Pequeños los dos.
I hope so too.
Yep.
There was some rumors about Melee 2.
Yeah.
Well, because one of the biggest criticisms all the Melee fans have about the new Smash Brothers is that wave dashing isn't there.
Yep, you're missing those little effectively glitches that made players who knew how to exploit them better players.
Yeah, and I thought the Wii U version hit really well. I think its biggest problem was that it was attached to the 3DS version, in that they couldn't have Ice Climbers anymore because they couldn't do the whole 2 character as 1 character thing on the 3DS, and they had to make both versions work the same, which I think was... It certainly helped their numbers, being that Wii U didn't sell that well, but it was also dissatisfying because it felt like they made a lot of concessions so the 3DS version would work.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've got about Nintendo. How about you? What else is coming out next year?
Strangers 2. Strangers 1 is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, so I'm very much looking forward to checking out 2, even though the trailer makes me go... But Christina Hendricks is in it, so that's good.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see her doing stuff. I feel like she hasn't shown up as much as she should have.
Yeah.
Quite a good actress, so I'm looking forward to that. Good or bad, I will be in cinemas.
Yep. And what else? Did you have any more movies coming out next year?
I'm making jam on like stuff that I'm vaguely interested in, but those are the ones I'm mostly excited for.
Yeah.
We're getting a Tomb Raider reboot. Once again, an attempt to make a video game movie good.
Yeah.
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 It looks like it's relating to the Tomb Raider video game reboot.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good game. It also had some tonal problems, and also that was the first Tomb Raider game I ever really played. So when they suddenly introduced magic, I was like, oh, fuck off.
That's thoroughly disappointing.
Yeah, well, not strictly speaking magic, but just, ancient samurai warriors who had been alive for thousands of years. And it's like, nope, you kind of lost me a little bit there, game.
They pulled a real Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on you, or? A
little bit. I mean, again, I hadn't played any of the previous games. This is something that is in the previous games. It wasn't surprising to anyone familiar with Tomb Raider, but I was disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
So who knows if they're going to do that in the movie, but given how much of the trailer does seem to be borrowing from the reboot of the game, it would be fair to assume yes.
Oh, that's something at least. Did you see the movie poster, though, with her neck?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's like, people know what necks look like. you can't really Photoshop that, but fine.
No, and it's not even like a Marvel character that, has a costume or whatever. It was a person.
Yeah. Yeah, weird.
But yeah, they just had to get the whole face, the butt, and the boobs shot. And they sacrificed the neck.
Never sacrifice the neck.
So yeah, looking forward to anything else. I was trying to think of TV, but everything I'm looking forward to is just the next season of the thing.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to New Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, when does that start?
I'm not sure. They're always very floaty with. Actually, it's probably been announced. I'm just unaware of it.
Sorry, I'm bad with Doctor Who lore. Is the Christmas special usually the passing of the torch?
No, but often yes.
Yeah?
So it's more that marks the end of a season.
It is, except when it isn't.
Yeah, pretty much. So I did say on the previous No Review special that I was not opposed to a female taking the lead. I was worried that they were doing it because Tumblr kept yelling at them.
Yeah.
But I really like their choice of Jodie Whittaker. She's in Broadchurch. She's fantastic in Broadchurch.
Yeah.
And I actually just found out today, making sure I got her name right, that the new showrunner also was showrunner for Broadchurch. So, wow. Yeah, that's interesting, and maybe that was what contributed to her getting this, I know who I want to bring over for this role.
Yeah. So
maybe that contributed to the decision. But yeah, I am looking forward to that, as I look forward to Doctor Who every year, even if I don't particularly like the seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably mentioned this on the last special as well, because I got into it briefly because of David Tennant, and again, just on the strength of Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a show that I should be into, but I'm not watching. But I might check out a few episodes of this new season. And so anything else that you're looking forward to next year?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Holy shit, that's next year?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Because I didn't play the first one.
I played the fuck out of the first one. I would have 100%ed if it didn't have a glitch that stopped me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. No, it took me a while to get into it, to be fair. Once it did, I was hooks in really bad. I nearly cried at the end. It was gorgeous.
Wow. Because I heard that it's like got a bit more of a fleshed out story than Grand Theft Auto's.
Yeah, in comparison to Grand Theft, I suppose it's just slower paced. You are playing less of your own interpretation of this character and more their interpretation, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, for example, there are hookers in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, but you can't sleep with them.
Oh.
Because John Marsden is a married man and he does not betray his wife.
Oh, that's
So to give you an idea of how it works differently to GTA.
Yeah. Which is also like one of the best value games you can get right now. Like, you've got the main campaign, and then GTA Online has got so many things to it. Yeah, so, just finishing out tonight. Just wanted to give a little bit of a hype to the podcast. I can't really say anything yet, mostly because I don't have much to say yet, but I am in talks with other podcasts, so we will be doing sort of more crossover episodes and stuff in the new year. And yeah, we still have some more special episodes planned. I actually just took stock because I realized we hadn't done any of those non-Treehouse of Horror vignette episodes.
All right.
So like...
Such as?
So, like, there's Simpsons Tall Tales, where they do the Paul Bunyan story and Johnny Appleseed.
Yep.
The Bible Stories one, which is very well loved. And Simpsons Christmas Stories, which is a pile of garbage. There's a revenge one. There's one at sea. There's one about women. There's one about Christmas. And there's one about romance. Like, there's actually a whole bunch of them from seasons 10 to 22. And I think we'll do like a separate episode to cover them, because they do operate differently to a standard Simpsons episode.
Yeah, true. Vignette-a-thon.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll do that. Also planning the HD Wasteland in the new year as well.
HD Wasteland!
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I enjoy the Wasteland. It's a terrifying place, full of rats.
Yeah, it's one that we'll have to plan out. I think it's actually amazing that we were able to do all 7 episodes last time, given that it was such a spontaneous idea.
Yep.
Yeah, like we were just like, we're here. Do you want to do an episode? Do you want to do 7 episodes?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll break after 3. We'll break after 4. You know what? Let's just keep going.
Yeah, and we fucking made it. So yeah, I've got some plans for a HD Wasteland, and yeah, also probably like sooner than we'll expect it is the episode 100, where we'll cover the overall episode 100, which will be Seymour Skinner's badass song where he gets fired.
All right, yeah. Cool.
Yep.
I like that one.
Barting Over, which is where Bart gets emancipated and he moves in with Tony Hawk or some shit.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And so, yeah, that's the 300th episode, and then we'll do the 500th episode at Long Last Leave, which I don't remember what happens.
500th episode.
The Simpsons get kicked out of Springfield and Julian Assange is in the episode. How good can it be?
And yeah, season 29 has been such a mixed bag. I know you haven't seen... Have you only seen the ones we've indexed?
Yep.
Yeah. All the others that I'd say are actually pretty participant. I heard some good things about Gone Boy, but that's such a terrible title. I don't know how it gets good from there. And yeah, look, we endeavor to do our 2-part specials in the next year. I want to do one episode where it's like the Who Shot Mr. Burns 2, then Alone Again, Natural Diddley, and I'm Going to Praiseland, which is like Maud dies, and then when Flanders builds Praiseland. Always felt like they were two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they link into each other.
Yep, and Holidays of Future Past, which is like a Christmas special that's set like 20 years in the future. Yeah, look forward to the podcast next year. We'll do our Mayoween and Halloween episodes as well. And
fun.
Yeah. No, it's been a good experience doing that, and now we're sort of looking at diversifying and doing more podcast projects and such. We'll finally get the release of Pulp Fury Radio happening.
Yes.
And ready to say anything about your other things?
Yeah, again, I'm kind of all about throwing out things that will hopefully happen in this year. So as you may know from my podcast picks, I'm a big roleplay game fan. I've been wanting to do a roleplay podcast for a really long time, but there are so many Dungeons and Dragons ones. I had to do something different. For a while, we were going to do a Harry Potter themed one, but then we were really worried about the legal ramifications of that. So, being a big fan of horror as well, I've written my own roleplay game system, And hopefully in the new year, you'll be able to hear episodes of Will You Survive, where I will take Elliot J. O'Neill and some of the other voices you hear on this podcast and various other guests through famous horror movie scenarios to see, will they survive?
I am making an early prediction. I will be the first dead on everyone, because anytime I watch a horror movie, I go, oh, there's a character that looks like me. He's dead.
Well, you don't have to be you necessarily. You can be anyone. So the plan,
Yeah.
underline the word plan. So the rule set will have a free PDF version, and I will write a extended version, which will be available for maybe Patreon subscribers.
Yep.
So you get like full edition scenarios, monster catalog, extra rules, and access to hopefully what will be the podcast. That's the plan.
Yeah.
I'm infamous for having ideas and no plan, and then if I do have an idea and a plan and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But trying to shuck that trend, and hopefully this will be the year that happens.
Well, yeah, now that we've got a name for the studios, it actually sort of feels like it's, time to sort of expand and sort of see what we can do outside of this. I love doing the index and everything, and this will continue until it's done. But it's only got a 4-year lifespan, and we're already 1.5 years into that. So start looking at some more podcast projects that can essentially go on, because I do like doing this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I did want to have all that stated. Like I said, it may change shape, it may not happen at all, but I wanted to kind of throw it out there as a motivation for myself to get on it.
Yeah, and look, if you do like role-playing games and this sort of sounds like something that's interesting you, like, hit us up. We'd love to, shoot some ideas back and forth and, interact with our community and such, and recruit talent and everything. Yeah,
I could definitely use some artist work, so,
Yeah, visual artists hit us up as well, because, producing the art for Pulp Fury Radio, we'd like to take advantage of some distinct styles and such.
For sure.
All right, well, I think that covers it for our No Review Special Part 2.
Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to get out of my head.
Yeah, so, that's the year in 2017. That's the year in the index. And, just a big shout out to, thank you to the fans that have been supporting us and, listening to us. We're a podcast that doesn't have advertising, and we run pretty sufficiently without having it. We're proudly independent, and not a lot of people are in that position. But somehow you guys find us, and the fans we've gotten have been extremely passionate. And
if you're still listening, thank you. My gosh.
Yeah. So the new things I want to do with the podcast in the new year, I want to set up a Reddit page as well, so that we can talk with you guys a bit more. We really do like hearing from you, and, never feel afraid about correcting us or calling us on bullshit, We're very humble people that are...
Who fuck up a lot.
Who fuck up a lot and have no real problems admitting when we're wrong. That's what the corrections index is for. So, thank you to all the fans out there for, giving us the love. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk so much about Doctor Who, because I'd mentioned it previously. And this has now happened. I need to own up to what I was talking about before, so yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how these podcasts become little time capsules and stuff. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining me for the No Review Special, BT.
Delightful as always.
Yeah, that's me. I'm your host, Elliot J. O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for checking out the Simpsons Index podcast. Don't forget to go to www.thesimpsonsindex.com for the spreadsheet and information about upcoming episodes.
And for today's extra content,
Let's I'm gonna shut the fan off in a second. We're ready to dive into that.
Yep. And we'll just dive in head first. Okay, performance mode. Pretending I wasn't just at a shop getting annoyed at fucking everything. From little kids to Mariah Carey. Elliot hates you all.
We've got... I don't know if I ever told you, but my work used to just have normal radio. Because we're just an oddity, and they finally remembered to fix it, and so now I have fucking 2 out of 3 songs of Christmas carols.
2 out of 3?
2 out of 3.
Damn. And what's your worst fucking Christmas carol ever?
Mine's still fucking Paul McCartney's Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time.
I heard he played a 2-hour rendition of it the other night.
Can I get a little bit more me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've called for his knighthood to be revoked for that. And some say it's an overreaction. I say it's an underreaction.
You would not be wrong in that request.
Yeah, it's just it's awful. I played it to like a hardcore Paul McCartney fan, and they took their headphones off. Like, see, I told you.
Yeah, I thought it was Mariah Carey and Justin Bieber's version of All I Want for Christmas Is You, but I think I found something that topped it today, and I don't even know what it was called. It was just a Pokemon Christmas song. And it was like, it's a Pokemon Christmas. And it was just the most not trying, terrible
Pokemon Christmas boogie?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Shit.
Squirtle stuffing this turkey and Charizard's making pie. And other things you do at Christmas.
Yay.
Picker.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, pre-banter over.
Mm-hmm. Creepy.
You have to go to a specific porn site to see that kind of content. You can't just get it on your general.
I don't want to search.
At generalporn.com.
Theporn.com.
Yep. Just your average porn. None of that freaky nonsense.
Missionaryonly.com. I just hate reaction videos in general.
Yeah.
I don't understand the concept in the slightest. Here's me overreacting to things that everyone knows about. This is what an honest direct trailer reaction would be. Oh, hey. All right. To anything. No matter what the trailer is, that is the appropriate level of reaction. Anyone else who says anything else is lying.
I don't know. I feel like I had an oh shit moment during Infinity War.
Was it get this man a shield? Oh, yeah. Captain America's in this movie. You didn't figure that out.
He has a beard.
Ooh, beard. Does the beard have powers? Get the beard a shield.
Yeah. I think my oh shit moment was where he's like pulling the Infinity Stone out of Vision's head. Like,
that's pretty heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Not really a spoiler, right? It's a trailer.
It's in a trailer.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It can't be a spoiler. It's not out. Last of Us 2 as well.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, God of War 4.
But this time, Kratos has a beard.
And a son. I guess that's sort of the magic of the old Simpsons, is that they're just subtly educating you on all this stuff. Like, good way to think of examples, brain.
Yeah.
But